All parties on Roberts versus Hopkins. Step forward.
Bed and breakfast owner Becky Roberts is suing Susanna and Charles Hopkins for not paying for their daughter's wedding party.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 360 on the calendar in the matter of Roberts versus Hopkins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Roberts, you are the owner of a sort of bed and breakfast kind of place where you also hold functions, weddings and parties. The defendants, according to your complaint, hired you and used your facility for a wedding for your daughter?
For our daughter.
And wedding was over and you didn't pay.
But we offered to pay. When we was kicked out before it was over.
Yes, she ruined our daughter's wedding. She had problems. She approved of the band. I don't know if she had problem that the band was in Spanish. And she kept complaining throughout the whole thing. It was a very hostile environment. She kept complaining.
What was she complaining about? That the band was
noise,
too loud?
Everything.
That the band was too loud?
That the band was too loud. In fact, she pulled the plug while our guests and the bride and the groom were dancing. Extremely rude.
Okay. During what hours was your facility retained?
We rented the facility for a 7-hour time period.
7 hours?
2 hours prior to the wedding for the guests to come in because there's pictures to be done, chairs to set up, that type of thing. 4 hours for the wedding and reception. Everything has to be done by 11.
2 and 4 is 6.
And then 1 hour for cleanup. In other words, if we stop at 11, there's an hour for them to get their stuff, wedding presents brought in, that type of thing. We did pull the plug at 11:15 because we asked them.
Just a second, I'll get to you in a minute. Go ahead.
We asked them. In fact, we had two different times where the policemen came and said they were too loud. We did not know a band was coming until that night. So we tried to be accommodating. In fact, we had to even move furniture around in the garden so that they could set up.
This is in a residential neighborhood?
Yes, it is. It's on a corner street, but it's still a residential area.
So you're saying the police came twice?
Twice. And then we called them the third time.
What time did you call them?
About 11:30.
Why?
Because
Just a second. I'll get to you in a minute.
Because they were not leaving. In fact, we pulled the electricity or shut off the power to the band, and yet they continued to play. And we said, you know, I told them at 11 o'clock, that please make your last song, and they said, well, we're hired to play longer. And I said, but they don't have the facility any longer. Parties need to be over by 11, so that way they have an hour to do cleanup and tear down or...
Let me see the contract that you have with them.
I have a guideline.
There was never a contract.
Or a guideline.
200, yeah, guidelines. We get a $200 deposit up front.
And you received this from the Pickering house?
We gave her
I didn't ask you anything else. I asked you received the
no,
guidelines.
I did not. No. It was all by word of mouth, Becky. It was all by word of mouth.
Shh, don't fight with each other.
No, no.
Shh, don't fight with each other.
They mailed me the check, and I dropped that back in the mail to them.
I gave you the check in person. I did not mail you.
Miss Hopkins, did you hear me?
Yes.
I said, don't talk to each other. Well, let me make the suggestion to you, Ms. Roberts. In the future, you're handing me Pickering House guidelines, and you're in business. So what you do if you're in business and you want to ensure that there's never any question, you have the people who are hiring your facility sign this because these folks say that they never received it. Right? Is that what you say?
We never did.
That's what they say, that they never received it. So what you have to do is, in the future, acknowledge receipt on each page that they have reviewed it, because according to your guidelines, which they said they never got, that all events must end by 11 p.m. That's what it says. And it also says that there shall be no amplified music of any kind. Well,
we provide a player grand piano that has speakers both inside as well as out. In fact, the bride even used that service to walk down the aisle.
Okay. That was agreed on, because we agreed. When I talked to her, she told me she had recorded music for the wedding march. We talked about the band, and she approved it. And with her personality, Your Honor, if she did not want the band there, she would have never let them set up.
Well, whatever. But Miss Hopkins, your daughter did have a wedding there for 6 hours.
Well, no, where did you get
No,
6
look at
hours?
me. Talk to
7
me.
o'clock to 11 o'clock. That was what we talked about. From in fact.
Okay, so you talked, shh, just a minute. You just said to me you talked to her about an event from 7 to 11.
That was the deal, from 7 to 11.
And you agree that at 11 o'clock, they pulled the plug on the music.
No, at 10 o'clock, she pulled the plug on the music and she told us, get out. This was a Catholic Jewish wedding. Okay, I was concerned.
Just a second, I thought at 11 o'clock that they pulled the plug on the music.
No, ma'am, no, ma'am. I am telling the truth. She pulled the plug, and I have witnesses. I have Jeannie?
Your Honor.
Yes.
My name's Jeannie Goodwin. I'm a witness for the Hopkins. I have a friend who is a sergeant on the Olathe Police Department.
Don't tell me what your sergeant friend told you, madam. You were at the wedding?
Yes, I was.
Okay. I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions. Do you remember at what hour the electricity was pulled on the music?
At approximately 10 p.m.
How do you know that?
Because I know what time the police got there, which was around 9:30 p.m. There was one officer that only arrived at one time.
That you saw?
That evening.
Just a
Yes.
second. That you saw? So
Correct.
that there was a policeman that arrived at the wedding?
Yes.
Okay. And the guests at this wedding left at what time?
Right approximately 10 p.m. or shortly thereafter, because the wedding party was then relocated to the home of the Hopkins. The band had to reset up. It was totally reset up, and the party was resumed by 11 p.m. at their residence, which was a few blocks from the Pickering house.
They didn't even cut the cake until after 10 o'clock.
That is not so.
Just a second. If the policeman arrived at 9:30, was the cake cut at the wedding?
Yes, it
Yes.
was.
She does not
There was
deserve to
three
be in the
different
catering
times.
business.
3 different times that police came. First time.
No, no picture.
3 different times. First time they rang the front door and my husband went to the door. The second time they walked around the house and one of the wedding party's people were talking to the officer because we said, you know, we've gotten the police here once, we need to keep the noise down. And the second time they were trying to keep the police officer from us and we saw them from where we were in the kitchen, we went and talked to them. And the third time was when we actually called and there was never a police report written because there was no complaint. I mean, we were just trying to have, you know, the neighbors called for noise, so there's not really an actual written.
Yes.
Your Honor, I was there when the police officer arrived at approximately 9:30 p.m. He never saw anything wrong, acted very disgusted.
Listen to me. You can't tell me what the police officer saw.
Because he
You
stated.
can't, just listen to me. You can't tell me what the police officer saw. And what you're saying on this side, folks, is that the police have nothing to do but to cruise around and go to wedding parties. Because clearly they came to this, listen to me. Clearly they came to this wedding party because somebody in the neighborhood had called and said, there is too much noise here.
That is correct.
Okay. And he came, and he looked and he saw it was a wedding, and he may have left, but you can't say it's because he saw nothing wrong. Someone had called and complained. Whatever it is, you had the
Mrs.
full use
Roberts
of the
did.
service, and you have to pay for the wedding.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You got to learn to behave yourself, madam. I have a feeling you have a pretty hot temper.
No.
Not as hot as mine. That's all. Ow.
And later today,
You have no right to invade her house with all these people.
All right, it all comes right.
A, you're wrong. Let's go to B, you're wrong.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bed and breakfast owner Becky Roberts called the police during the Hopkins daughter's wedding. She says the band was too loud. She's suing for non-payment.
Now, wedding was cheap enough. I could have gotten away this cheap with a wedding.
Your Honor, Your Honor, Your Honor,
$1,299.93. That's how
she
many
does
people?
not deserve to get paid.
How? Did your daughter get married?
Yes, she did.
Did they dance at the wedding?
But she-
Listen to me. Did they dance at the wedding? Did they dance at the wedding?
yes,
From
they danced
7?
at the wedding,
From
but-
7, according to you, until 10 o'clock.
Under very hostile circumstances.
Hostile. Listen to me. Listen to me. You have to pay for this. You have to pay for it. You may not recommend them to other people,
Never.
but you have to pay for it. You can't just walk out without paying for a wedding. It's ridiculous.
We offered to pay and she refused.
Just a minute. So if you offered to pay and she refused, then you understood, despite the hostile environment
Why didn't you
at the
send us a
wedding.
bill?
I did send you
You
bills.
did never send
Just
us a
listen
bill
to
by
me.
phone or...
Hey, if there was really a hostile environment at this place, then you pick up your wedding party and you go 2 blocks and you say, I'm not going to have my daughter's wedding in a hostile environment. But
That's
you
what we
continue
did.
to use the facility. And you use the facility, you got to pay for it. What did you provide for this $1,300?
The facility is about $500,000 facility, about 6,000 square feet of nothing but beautiful antiques. We have a garden.
So you provided
waterfall.
the facility.
We did past hors d'oeuvres. We did punch. They brought in their own alcohol, but we did punch for the children. Service staff, a shuttle service to a city lot, so that way they'd have off-street parking.
What?
She refused water to a lot of our guests. She did. It was 100-degree weather. When she got angry and marched upstairs, she stopped the shuttle. Our guests had to walk to the parking lot that's 5 blocks away. That is the
Not
honest
even
truth.
5.
Just a
It's
minute.
2 blocks.
It is 5
it's
blocks.
2 blocks.
Miss Hopkins, if you thought it was terrible that you could have...
We left.
We did leave.
We left.
Listen, I'm not going to go round and round with you. You used the facility, you had a wedding, your daughter got married. Pay for it. What was your contract price?
$1,299.93.
If it was $7 a person, how could that be so much?
$7.95 a person.
Oh, and the bride and groom were to spend the night in the bridal suite, and they didn't get to use that either.
Just a minute. Did she tell them she couldn't use it?
It was there. They never came back.
Just a second.
Well, no.
Did she tell them she couldn't use it?
Yes. She said, everybody out.
Yeah.
That's what she told us. That's what
Listen
she
to
told
me.
us.
Did you ever tell the bride and groom that they couldn't use
No.
the facility?
Yes,
No.
you did, Becky.
No.
Just a second. Did you hear her say to your daughter, you cannot use the bridal suite?
I heard her say, everybody out. And
Get
so
out.
we all got out and took the party to our house.
Good. And your daughter slept elsewhere. Didn't go
Our
back.
daughter slept.
Good.
But see, she
Judgment
ruined
for
her
the
wedding.
plaintiff in the amount of $1,299.93. That's all.
Parties are excused.
Which-
You may step out.
Excuse me? Just a second. Just step back here. Did you say something?
I called her witch.
But, Your Honor?
I'm
Can
not
I say-
listening to you anymore.
Okay, thank you.
You got to learn to behave yourself, madam. I have a feeling you have a pretty hot temper.
No.
Not as hot as mine.
Well.
That's all. Out.
I'll still
About
call you a
this.
witch.
I'm just glad the whole thing's over. We don't have any prejudice. We do weddings there all the time, most weekends, and we've never had a problem before.
Well, I was disappointed because she does not deserve to be in the catering business, and she ruined our daughter's wedding. And for that, I call her a witch.
And now the next case.
Parties on Victoria versus Victoria. Step forward, please.
21-year-old cosmetologist Yolanda Victoria is suing her father, 43-year-old truck driver Kenneth Victoria, for rent, bills, and wrecking her credit after he was evicted.
This is your father.
Yes.
According to your complaint, your father moved into your home. Could you stand still? Thank you. I was getting dizzy. According to your complaint, your father moved into your home, and you had an agreement with him that he was to share expenses.
Yes.
50-50.
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct.
And he moved into your home. Shortly after he moved into your home, he moved a whole lot of other people into the home.
Yes.
Who did he move in?
His niece, his girlfriend, his niece friend, and his girlfriend kid.
Not true.
How many people did you move into the house, sir?
Actually, I didn't move in but one. 2 other people came in there afterwards. My girlfriend came in afterwards.
Few other people came into the house.
Right. That's correct.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That was wrong for me to have people over?
Am I not making myself clear to this man?
Obviously not, Judge.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Yolanda Victoria is suing her father, Kenneth Victoria, for rent, bills, and wrecking her credit. Kenneth says he's done everything for his daughter.
Let me hear.
When I originally moved in the apartment, it was just supposed to be me and him. And I did ask him to to make them leave. And he said, okay, fine. And I came home that day from work, And they were still there, and I said, why are they still here? And he said, well, they need time to move. And I said it didn't take that long for them to move in.
That was very sensible of you. So what'd you do?
I told him to get them out, and he was like, well, they can stay here. And I said, well, I'm moving out. I said, because I'm not staying in here with all these people, because that wasn't their agreement. And I was going to move out, and he's like, no, I ain't going to have I'm not going to have anywhere to stay. Let me stay here, and I will take over the rent. I will pay the rent, the lights, and the phone. I said, well, I'm taking the phone and the light bill out of my name. He was like, no, don't do that. Let it stay, you know, let me keep all this. And I was like, okay, well, you my daddy, I'll help you out since you don't have anywhere to go. He's like, I promise I'll pay it.
And he didn't?
No.
And you got stuck with all the bills. Rent?
Yes, right.
And all the utilities?
Right.
And what were the total of your bills?
The...
Open your folder. Tell me your total of your bills.
That's not correct.
The apartment was $1,311 for all their fees and whatever else happened to it. And the phone bill was $539.
$539?
Yes. He had his niece was having her boyfriend or whoever call collect all the time. He told me this.
Well, I wasn't aware of that. No,
You told me.
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Okay. Now, your defense seems to be, I'm the father, she's the child.
Right.
And she has no right to tell me what to do. That's what you said.
Well, somewhat.
That's what he always say.
Just a second. Why didn't you pay the rent?
Well, she was there a while, too.
She left. After she left, she told you to leave or to get out all the people you had invited to the house. You have no right to invade her house with all these people.
I had all kind of right.
No! What kind of right do you have?
I was paying half of the bills, wasn't I?
No.
No, well, listen to me. Let us assume you were paying half the bills.
Well,
Your
okay.
arrangement with her is the two of you were going to live there together. You have no right to bring in the whole Coxie army to live in your house and say, well, I'm paying half the bills, so on my half, I'm going to have 5 people living there. On her half, she's 1.
Well, it wasn't 5, first of all.
3.
Well, it wasn't 3. It was 2.
No, it was your girlfriend and your niece.
Right.
So
It was
let us
3.
assume.
Well-
let us assume that's true. When you went into this
No, it is
agreement
true.
with her, sir, you didn't say it's for me and my girlfriend and my niece. You said it was for me.
Right.
I have no place to stay. So A, you're wrong. Let's go to B, you're wrong. You're the father. You're supposed to pay the bills. Your daughter's not supposed to support you.
Well,
Why
so-
didn't you pay the rent?
So that was wrong for me to have people over?
Am I not making myself clear to this man?
Obviously not, Judge.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
You entered into a contract with your daughter to rent an apartment with her. It's
Yes.
her place.
Yes.
You were going to pay half. If she were a stranger, not your daughter, she were a stranger, and you said, I'm renting a room in your apartment. It's just me, and I will pay half the bills.
Yes.
And you move in, your girlfriend and your niece. She would have an absolute right to say goodbye to you because you breached the lease. The lease was, the agreement was, the two of you were going to live there, whether you're paying half the bills or not.
Well, she could ask me to leave then instead of just leaving it all on me, because I was eventually laid off immediately after that. I mean, she could have asked me to leave. if that was
She
the
asked
problem.
you to have the people that you brought into the house leave.
Well, I know
And you
that.
said no.
No, I didn't say no.
You
She
just told me, I'm paying half the rent. I can have whoever I want here. That was your position.
Still is.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,850.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She been with me my whole life. All of a sudden, in the last 2 years, we hardly socialized, and then it means
I'm not mad at him at all. I just wanted him to pay me.
that's my daughter. I do love her.
Leventhal is countersuing his wife for not letting him see his children.
You want to tell me what happened on July 12th, your version of what happened?
Yes, ma'am. We have a current domestic violence injunction on behalf of Aaron and Mark because these two individuals had the children on a weekend visitation. He had been exercising irregular and unreasonable visitation.
You know, you sound like a record. I want to tell you something. You sound like a record. I asked you a question, and you sound like a programmed record. I want you to tell me your version of what you believe happened.
The children came home on Saturday night during his weekend visitation. He returned them with a police escort to our home. The children exited the car screaming, "Daddy's hurt me again," the 9-year-old and the 14-year-old. I was nowhere around. It seems that he lost his temper again, and he placed his hands around the neck of our young child. He claims trying to wash out his mouth. The child had marks around his neck. A police officer was at our home, which he had called, interviewed my children with me away from the room so they could speak to him first, as this is what has happened whenever he's had the children. That was the last time he exercised visitation. He did not come in the summer, and he willfully gave it up because of his habitual intemperance. That's what it is, Your Honor, plain and simple.
2 new words.
Go.
Your Honor, my youngest child, is a very difficult child, hyperactivity, attention deficit, and
it says so in the papers.
Called me a very bad word, all right? And as a child, I had a little bit of soap in my mouth.
What did he say?
He called me a f***ing asshole, Your Honor.
Okay.
All right. And I thought that...
How did that come about? I'm just
we were getting ready for dinner. I had some burgers that I was doing. Sherry was in the kitchen preparing. Mark asked if he could call his mother, and he did. And he got off the phone. He's always very argumentative when he gets off the phone with his mother when he's with me. I told the kids to get ready for dinner. I asked them to get washed up and all. He says, "Well, I don't have to, Dad. You're a FA." And that's when I grabbed him by the back of the neck, walked him over to the bathroom, and gave him a little soap for dinner.
Were you present?
Yes, I was.
Step up. If I were to ask you the same question, would that be
Absolutely. I heard him say that. And I did see him wash Mark's mouth out. And we have a report from HRS where the boys went in and were interviewed, and Aaron did tell what happened. Aaron was present when this happened.
Aaron's the older one.
Yes, and Aaron
Can I
saw
see
it
the
happen.
report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And the case was subsequently dropped.
Let me just take a look. Bert, would you do me a favor, please?
Yes.
Would you escort the parties outside and bring Aaron into court?
Sure thing, Judge.
Thank you.
Step up, please. Everybody. This way.
Bailiff, are you going to stay with me?
Go ahead, though.
Good. Aaron,
Yes.
would you come up here and sit up here, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Your full name is Aaron Leventhal?
Aaron Simon Leventhal.
You know that I was a family court judge for a long time. So I have some serious questions to ask you, and I want to ask you out of the earshot of both your mother and your father. Okay? And you know I'm like a truth machine.
Yeah.
Right? You believe that, don't you? Good. So I got a couple of questions for you. How was your bar mitzvah?
I didn't have one.
How come?
Because my dad wouldn't pay for it.
Had you gone for Hebrew school training?
Yes.
For how many years?
Since I was about 8 or 9.
And do you remember what happened with your bar mitzvah? How did you know that your dad wouldn't pay for it?
Because, well, he'd like said it, and he said he'd like have it in a McDonald's.
Who did he say that to?
Me.
Where were you when he said that to you?
We were out with my little brother out for dinner.
Did you talk to him about the bar mitzvah?
Yes.
Tell me what the conversation was.
Well, I said, like, I asked him why not, and he just said, because your mother should have to pay for it. And then I, like, asked him why, and he, like, wouldn't give me answers.
Did that upset you?
Yes.
Do you remember Last July, there was an incident that happened when you were visiting with your dad.
Yes.
And something about starting to set the table or put the table together for dinner. Is that what happened? Your little brother was told to set the table?
Yes, and he didn't do it.
And he had called your mom about that time?
Yes.
Did he call your father a name?
After my dad had said the word, he said it back.
What did your dad say? You can tell me. I've heard everything, Aaron.
Okay. He said that, like...
Is that what he said to him? You heard him say that?
We were about to set the table. It's like he wanted to watch the end of a TV show.
Who did?
My brother, and he would have done it. He was, like, getting up to do it. And then my dad, like, tried washing out his mouth.
And your brother was upset about that?
Yes.
He called your father a name?
Yes.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Why didn't this child, after having gone to Hebrew school training, why didn't he have a bar mitzvah?
You did notice that he was wearing a cross quite proudly around his neck, though, today.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Now I got a really much more serious question to ask you, Aaron. Does it upset you when your mom talks about your dad?
Sometimes when it, like, it's really painful.
Did you ever tell her that it hurts you when she talks about your father?
Yes.
What'd she say?
She says, that'll stop, and if you ever need to talk, we can talk.
Sometimes children who grow up with divorced parents, they have to be smarter than their parents. Do you ever feel that way?
Sometimes.
You haven't seen your father in a long time. Do you know why?
Because he hasn't wanted to.
Who told you that?
Well, I know it.
How do you know?
He lives down the street.
Why don't you tell me your best recollection of what happened on that day in July? So your little brother is in the bathroom getting his mouth washed out with soap, Aaron, right?
Yeah.
Did you have dinner that night?
Yes.
Then what happened?
Then my little brother was, like, talking back still, not name calling. And my dad said he's had it with us, and I'm taking you home to your mother. And then, like, my little brother was, like, talking to me, just, like, holding a conversation. And we were, like, driving home, and then, like, when we got to the gas station near our house, he pulled over, and he, like, called the police and asked them to, like, escort us home.
I see.
We got home.
Okay. And what happened after you got home? So the police escorted you home.
Yes, and my mom, like, asked what was going on. And then, like, we came inside and we told her, and then my mom, like, asked if Mark was okay. He, like, was crying, and he, like, had the red marks on his neck. He, like, was really upset.
And it was after that incident that you haven't seen your father anymore.
Yes.
But I read a report there that says that you would like to see your dad.
Yeah, but...
That's a hard thing, because I know you live with your mom, and I know your mom is very angry. You're not supposed to be involved with that, Aaron. You know what I mean? That's their bag. They're supposed to put all of the anger and everything else aside and just be concerned about what's best for you guys. Did you tell your mom you wanted to see your dad?
Yes.
And what did she say?
She said...
Look at me, Aaron. Come on.
That if he would, like, come and pick us up, then we could see him. And if he, like, didn't yell or scream a lot and, like, belittle my mom.
What about your little brother? Have you ever talked to your little brother about seeing your dad?
Yes.
What has he told you?
That he'd like to. And he'd like him to, like, do what other dads do.
You'd like him to act responsibly. But you have to understand that if all of his actions are being put under a microscope, it's very hard. Do you know what I'm talking about? You know, if he if he grabs your little brother by the neck and puts soap in his mouth because he called him it, which is what he called him, right? Huh? A little bit more than that, right? That's not unreasonable.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And if your parents were living together,
they'd probably give some soap in the mouth.
Absolutely, right? Right?
Yes.
But because they're not living together, it became a big deal. You're a smart kid, Aaron.
Thank you.
So you understand it. Now I just have to explain it to your mother and to your father. How's that?
Okay.
I'll see what I can do.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
If you love your children, you'll put yourself in some serious counseling because you're the one who is the custodial parent and you are a very sick lady.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Susan Leventhal wants her ex-husband, Dr. Jerry Leventhal, to pay her for her son's medical and dental bills. Dr. Leventhal wants his former wife to stop stalking him and let him see his children.
Okay, first I'm going to get on your case. Son tells me that he went to Hebrew school for several years, but when it came to making a bar mitzvah, you told him he couldn't have one unless he wanted it at McDonald's. Did you ever say that to him, Dr. Leventhal?
No, Your Honor. Actually, my ex-wife.
You. I'm asking you, did you ever say that to him?
No, ma'am.
Why didn't this child, after having gone to Hebrew school training for years, why didn't he have a bar mitzvah? Of some sort. I'm not talking about one of those lavish things, you know, where they have clowns and photographers and dancers and all that kind of, but something.
At the time that Aaron was due to be bar mitzvahed, my ex-wife and I were separated. It was an extremely volatile situation, you know, it boiled down to if you had wanted your son to have a bar mitzvah, you would have paid for one, and that's her rationale. And I understand that, but
okay,
he didn't proceed with his Jewish teachings very long after we got to Orlando.
What I'm telling you is, perceptions for children are very important, Dr.
I understand
Leventhal.
that.
And Mrs. Leventhal, I want you to listen to this very carefully because I've spoken to your son.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
1 minute, Your Honor. You did notice that he was wearing a cross quite proudly around his neck, though, today. Okay.
I assume that he, at this point, Mrs. Leventhal, is being raised in your faith. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. For 15 years after marrying Jerry Leventhal, I practiced Judaism.
But then you divorced him.
And the child
what?
has chose now to start into learning about Christianity to mature in his faith.
Do you go to church now?
I do. I also stay active in the temple.
You know, you folks, you're going to really suffer the consequences, especially you, Mrs. Leventhal. I'm telling you, I make no excuses for your former husband. I think that he's done a lot of things that are wrong. I really do. I think that he should have swallowed his pride, begged, borrowed, stole a couple of $1,000s to make his son a bar mitzvah. I don't care if it was a luncheon someplace, let you invite who you want to invite, just so that the boy would know that he went to school. So I don't make any excuses for him. And I don't make any excuses for the fact that you are probably very, very angry with him. You devoted, according to your papers, 20 years of your life, encouraging him through everything else. Bottom line is you hate him more than you love your children. And I'm telling you that because I've just interviewed your son. He wants to see his father. And his younger brother wants to see his father. And I'm telling you right now, you made a big deal over him grabbing your son by the scruff of the neck, trying to put soap in his mouth. Even your son, Aaron, is smart enough to know that if the two of you were living together and your 9-year-old or 8-year-old at the time called his father that kind of name, your son, Aaron, is smart enough to know that that's probably what would have happened and you would have been right behind him in the bathroom. But because it was, put your hand down, but because it was done when you were separated, there was a big deal made out of it. Mrs. Leventhal, I am telling you that you're supposed to love your children more than you hate each other. Your children didn't ask to be born. Your children are going to feel as if there is a lack of support that they would be showing to you if they repeatedly said, we want to see our father, we want to see our father, because they know how hurt you are, how devastated you are, how angry you are with him, and you're their mother and they live with you. And the two of you aren't doing the right thing if you don't put aside every other acrimonious feeling that you have towards each other and say, your mother's a great gal, your father's a great guy, we couldn't live together, we're divorced. That's it. The rest of our business has nothing to do with you, so that your children shouldn't have to listen to you on the phone talking to anybody else about what a deadbeat their father is. Think that that's happened? Mrs. Leventhal.
They have not heard me say he's a deadbeat, but that his behavior is inappropriate and unaccountable for. Yes, ma'am. I am as honest about that as I can be. I've never said their father's a terrible person. I've said I want you to know your father.
Listen, what you sow, you will reap. You made 2 children, and you're not supposed to make them into emotional cripples. They want to see their father, and you shouldn't put anything in the way, any restrictions in the way. If the two of you don't get along and they want to see their father, you don't say, if your father comes here to pick you up, you can see him, which is what you say. Your father, that's what your son Aaron says. That's what Aaron says. If your father wants to come and pick you up, he can come here whenever he likes.
That's what I say.
Well, first
Yes,
you said
ma'am.
no, then you said yes.
I said when his father wants to come, yes. If he practiced reasonable and calm visitation and did not emotionally and physically hurt them.
Are you talking about the soap incident?
No, I'm talking about the reason he left our home in '95 under domestic violence.
Listen to me.
Until this.
Listen to me.
Your Honor,
Madam,
you need to know the history.
No, I don't, because I have a judgment of divorce that stops there. The judgment of divorce provides for visitation.
Since that time.
Just a second. That's all I'm interested in. That was in 1996. So I'm not interested in what happened in 95, 94, 93.
Well, since that time,
Only
he's
that.
not exercised his visitation.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Need help in a divorce dispute? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Mrs. Leventhal, you know, you want to know something? I'm giving you the money that you're requesting for your orthodontic work, $3,300.
Thank you. I'm
telling you that if you want to help your children, you'll go into some serious.
We are in counseling.
You, not them. You will go into some serious anger management therapy because
I have been through it. Thank you.
Because your problems are so deep-rooted. And I'm not saying that you don't have cause. And I'm not saying that he was a great husband. I'm not saying he was a fair husband. Maybe he was a lousy husband. You are going to destroy your children unless you get it together. I am dismissing your counterclaim, sir, but I'm not giving her the $5,000 she's requesting. I'm giving her $3,300 for the orthodontist only. And Mrs. Leventhal, if you love your children, you'll put yourself in some serious counseling because you're the one who is the custodial parent, and you are a very sick lady. That's all.
Why is that excused? You may step out. I'll be back with you right now.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Well, I like what Judge Judy said at the end. I think she hit the nail right on the head. Been dealing with this for 2 years now. She's a very vengeful, hateful, scornful woman.
I want to thank Judge Judy very much for having the wisdom to see through the fact that he has not been accountable for his financial responsibilities or his parental responsibilities. However, I think that she was totally inappropriate in her comment about my mental state. I am very lucky to have survived this type of abuse. Thank you, Judge Judy, for letting me be on the air, and thank you for taking the time to speak to my son. No other judge has.
Party's on Y versus Davis. Step forward, please.
30-year-old operator Ron Y. says former roommate, 44-year-old reservation clerk James Davis slandered him by sending flyers around the neighborhood.
Order. All rise. Hello. Thank you. Your Honor, this is case number 108 on the calendar in the matter of Y versus Davis. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
How do you pronounce your last name, sir?
Y. like
Mr.
XYZ.
White, according to these papers, you rented a room from the defendant.
Yes, I did.
And you're suing him for slander.
Yes.
Say he evicted you.
No.
You left.
Yes.
He has a countersuit for some money that he alleges that you owe him, along with some other things that I'll get to in due course. So how did you find him as a roommate?
He owns a computer line, and I logged on to it, and that's how I met him.
Did you go for an interview?
I know I met him prior to it, and he had told me that he had needed a roommate, and he said that his roommate was moving out and he needed someone to move in.
And what was your financial arrangement with him?
$300 a month.
What about utilities?
Well, my fair share of utilities was fair to me.
How many
We didn't have like you're going to pay this, you're going to pay that. It was $300 a month, and I was going to pay my share of the utilities. That's
Well,
the
how
way
many
that it
people
went.
were living in the house?
2.
So you were going to pay 50% of the utilities?
Well, at first, that's what it started out to be, yes.
So what was the trouble?
The trouble was, I started getting, Mr. Davis started handing me these every single month, and they're not the bills from the utility companies. They're bills that he printed out on his computer. Mm-hmm. And he would give them to me every month, and about 3 months into it, I said, you know, these bills are getting a little ridiculous for 2 people living in one apartment. He has a computer line which has 15 computers in there, and he's got 2 refrigerators and all kinds, and in the front room has a computer, and he has all kinds of stuff, and he runs the air conditioner 24/7. So I didn't feel that it was my responsibility to pay his part of the utilities. So I told him.
When you say part, so you didn't, when you moved in, you didn't have a clear understanding of, other than the rent, what share of the utilities
Well,
you were
I
going to
agreed to pay half at the time until I started getting these bills, and I thought they were ridiculous.
And you saw that half was a lot more than you thought you were using. Did you pay the rent?
Yes.
Every month that you were there?
Yes, I did.
Okay, how many months were you there?
6 months.
And I assume that that's true because he does not, in his countersuit against you, say that you owe him for any rent. Mm-hmm. So why did you move out?
I moved out because at the time he was just like, the bills were getting to me too much. Me and him weren't talking at all, and I just wanted to get out of there. I was just getting tired of having to deal with him every single day. Every time I walk in, I go, "Hi, Jim, how you doing?" And he'd be like, "Hi," just like real depressing all the time. And I don't want to be in that kind of an environment, And
so you left, and what happened after you left?
After I left, at the time I was on unemployment. I should make that fact clear. And he knew, and he was complaining that my rent wasn't on time, but I can't make the government pay any time, and he knew that I was on it prior. So he started saying, well, you need to pay the bills. And then he sent a letter to my mother's address, and the letter that I have right here in hand, and he said that I owed him $275, which is the first, and that would be that.
Okay, so he says you owe him $275.
Right. Mm-hmm. And in that letter, he states that he has my last unemployment check. He said that he will not give it to me unless I bring him cash, which is blackmail in my opinion. And I told him, you know what, I will be over there this Saturday, and we will settle this. And I went over there that Saturday, and I called the police station. And I called the police station, had a police officer meet me there and grab my stuff and leave. On that letter, he states that the carpets were cleaned. He states that the walls were done. None of it was done. I walked in with the police officers, and nothing had been cleaned, nothing had been done, nothing. And I had wiped down the walls, cleaned everything, and vacuumed and everything upon leaving.
You got your check. Your unemployment check.
Yes, I did. Finally, with the police's help.
So what are you complaining about, sir?
I'm complaining because after that, Mr. Davis decided that he was going to send a flyer out. On the third paragraph down, it says that he was going to send a flyer out saying that...
That's not true, Judge.
Just a second.
Excuse me. It says that he was on that. There is a threat on there that he was going to blackmail me, which is blackmail. That if you do not pay me, then I have no other alternative but to send mass email links along with flyers with your picture on it. About a month later, after I went with the police to get my stuff, he sends this to my mother's address, which is this one. And he also, I want to add too, that I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was anonymous at the time, and I volunteer once a week at this place where alcohol people go, and Mr. Davis sent one of those letters also to the people there, where he broke my anonymity. I used to have a private life. Now I don't have a private life anymore because this guy, nobody knew who I was. Now all of a sudden everybody knows who I am because of this letter. He also states on that I owe people money and all, and he has no proof of anything there, and I just don't think that it's fair that someone should be able to get away with something like that. You know, I can't go anywhere now, and I'm afraid that people are looking at me funny. I can't even live in my own city that I used to live in anymore.
You're talking about both of these pieces
Yes,
of
they
paper.
both came. And they
I'm
also
reading,
went...
you know, I can't read and listen to you at the same time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just show these to the defendant, please. Have you ever seen those before, sir?
Neither one of them, ma'am. No.
Excuse me, Your Honor. This man owns a computer company, and that picture was taken on Valentine's Day with a good friend. The day after Valentine's Day, because I moved out the 22nd of February out of him, I asked him, Jim, can you scan this on your scanner and put it on a disk?
That's not true, Your Honor.
Shh, just a second.
And he did scan it and put it on his disk. He's the only one with that copy of that picture. He's the only one that could have had that copy and made it, you know, and put it on a computer so we could print it out on that.
What about the person who took it?
The person who took it?
Yes.
It's a Polaroid. There's only one copy of that picture, and I have the copy in my possession, but that one was made...
Let me see it.
Well, I don't have it with me. I didn't know that I was supposed to... That was my... The picture, I was at the Alano Club, and it was made on a Polaroid. And I asked him, could you make a copy of this for me so I can have it on disc?
Does that sound familiar to you, sir?
Not at all, ma'am. I never saw that picture until just now. This is the first time I've
And
seen
also,
either
if you
of these.
notice, on that letter, the first letter that I got a month prior, on the third paragraph down, it states that he will send a picture out with flyers all over the city.
Well, it says, if necessary, the mass distribution of flyers all over the city of Long Beach and Whittier. Why did you threaten that, sir?
I didn't. I don't know what you're talking about, ma'am.
Just a second.
This thing that he just said that he doesn't have, that he didn't ever saw, has his signature on it and everything.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The letter that you attribute to him was not signed by him.
Okay, but he has a stamp, his signature. That's not a sign, that's a stamp. And also on this it says...
Just a second. You got more excuses than Carter has pills.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ron Wise says his former roommate, James Davis, slandered him by sending a flyer around his neighborhood. James is countersuing for unpaid rent and utilities.
Would you have the defendant write his name 4 times, please? Thank you. Well, I tell you right now, Mr. Y, I have the answer and countersuit by Mr. Davis with his signature on it. That is not the same signature on this letter.
But, Your Honor...
It is not the same signature, Mr. Y, as is on this letter. No way, shape, or form. Now, I want you to take a look at it. Just a minute. You'll see. This is the countersuit, and the defendant had absolutely no knowledge that I was going to compare signatures, and the signature that he has just made 4 times matches the signature on the countersuit, not the signature on that letter that you attribute to him. How did you get to court today, sir?
Drove.
You have your driver's license with you?
No, ma'am. It's in the car. I'll leave it in the glove box.
Do you have anything else in your possession with your signature on it? Yeah, credit cards.
Credit card?
Good. Let me see it. Great. Got a couple of those? The signature on all of his credit cards, sir, match the signature on his countersuit, match the signature on the 4 handwriting exemplars that he just gave me. So the letter that you attribute to this man was not signed by him.
Okay, but he has a stamp, his signature. That's not a sign, that's a stamp. This is a stamp with his thing on it.
No, ma'am.
And also on this it says...
Just a second. You got more excuses than Carter has pills. Let me see it. Say it was a stamp. I didn't see
on
there
that
was a
letter,
stamp.
on that letter, it states that he has my unemployment check and he has
Just
my
a minute.
belongings. He just agreed to that he'd had it. Now, if he agreed to having my stuff and I had to bring the police in to get it, why wouldn't he agree that that was his letter?
It's just not his signature. I didn't say it wasn't his letter, sir. I said it's not his signature.
Oh, okay.
Do you have any reason, sir, to send out this kind of filth to anybody?
No, ma'am. According to my attorney, I should have just dropped the matter, which I did. I was going to go to court and file a case of small claims, but because Mr. Y was underemployed, he said I would have basically a snowball's chance in hell of collecting.
How many places did you live, sir, in the past year?
2.
His place and your prior
Yes.
residence? And how long did you live in your prior residence?
6 months.
And on what street was that?
That was on Bermuda.
Did you leave owing any money there?
No, the bills were all in my name, and so was the apartment.
You know, what I have a problem with is, I have a problem with your suit because it's really hard to ascertain. He says he didn't send those things out, and certainly they are slanderous.
Oh, definitely.
They are slanderous, so I can't imagine why any normal person would send that out, especially since, according to your countersuit, sir, as best as I can come up with, you say unpaid utilities, $206. Okay? Then you say a credit for deposit, which means he gets a credit for $100, right?
Yeah, he was supposed to have had a $300.
Just a second. He gets a credit for deposit, which means he owes you $106. Then it says late charges on rent, $200. I discount that. He paid you the rent. Then it says carpet replacement. Do you have receipts for the replacement of the
Yes, ma'am, I
carpet?
do.
And show me what damage he did to the carpet?
It was either a bottle of mouthwash or a bottle of soda or something that was red. It was bright red. I had a carpet cleaning company come in and try and get it out, and they could not remove it.
You spill anything on that was red, sir?
Well, yes, it was mouthwash, in fact, and it was on my dresser, and I came home one day, and above my dresser was a vent, and he's not allowed to go into my room, and I don't know why he was in my room, but he put a vent, plastic cover over the vent to diffuse the air, and that was on the ground, so I wiped it up, and you know, and that was not from me. I mean, I know it was my room, and it was in my possession at the time, but I did not drop over that mouthwash.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Watt, you made a contract with him for $300 a month and 50% of the utilities.
Yes.
And then you unilaterally wanted to change that.
Right.
Right? You can't do that.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Ron Y says he was slandered by a flyer written by James Davis. James says he's never seen the flyer before today.
My problem is, Mr. Y. Why?
Why?
I need proof that he sent those things.
He's the only one with that picture. He's the only one in the world that could have had that picture. I have that picture in my photo album at home. He's the only one that made a copy of it, and I put it on a disc, and I have the disc of it at home, too.
Who else got those?
One was the Alano Club, where I was an anonymous member of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, that's for sure one. You know, I went over there, and they called me up, and they said, guess what, we got a letter. You know, and then one came to my mother's address, one went to my dad's address. You know, these are my parents' addresses, and he's the only one who could have known that.
Mr. Y, if you weren't getting along for a very long time and you moved out in February, why would you ask him to do you a favor and scan something into his computer?
Well, because it wasn't like I was planning on moving out. He didn't know that I was planning on moving out. I just wanted to get out of there because he was depressing.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second.
And every time I would come home, he would be like, oh, you know.
I heard what you said, sir. My question to you is if it was miserable enough so that you had decided that you were going to move out.
Because at the time, I was putting my feelers out to find another roommate. And nobody had said,
that.
You know.
I mean, are we talking apples and oranges here? What I asked you is why would you ask him to do you a favor and scan something in his computer for you if you really weren't talking to each other?
Because I wanted a picture of it. And he was sitting on
Why?
his computer, and I said, hey,
Why?
Jim, can you
Why?
scan this for me?
No. Why?
Because I wanted it on a disc.
According to you, you had it. You had the Polaroid picture. You said it was a Polaroid. You had
Yeah, it is a Polaroid.
You had a Polaroid picture.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. So why do you need another one?
Because I wanted it on my computer as on my desktop. I wanted on my computer, so when you turn my computer on, I have a picture of me and my friend. That's what I wanted. And that's how it started out.
I don't know if I'm satisfied. Listen. Can you prove to me that he owes you $106 for utilities?
I only brought the one phone bill with me, ma'am.
From what month?
February, ending February 22nd.
And what does it say?
Well, the total for the month was $244.96, but I went through and highlighted all of his phone calls on the bill.
Would you take a look at this bill? Thank you.
Okay.
Now look at the things that are highlighted.
Well, some of the
Those are
phone numbers are mine. I'm not going to disagree that some of these phone numbers are mine. But on all the bills, he charges me phone taxes plus basic service charges and all these ridiculous amounts of money for bills. I was paying $350 a month in bills.
That's not true, Your Honor.
You have to cancel checks for him for utilities? For the utilities that
No,
you
I
paid
gave him
for 6
cash.
months? You gave him cash?
I gave him
He
cash.
always paid me cash, and I
paid him in
recorded
cash.
it. And every time he gave me a payment, I gave him a new printout showing where you gave me the payment.
But towards the end, right before I moved out, that's when I said I wanted to see the bills because the bills
I
were
don't
too
blame you
high.
for- I don't
And he
blame him.
wouldn't show them to me.
He could have looked at them at any time. They always sat on my desk.
No. I asked him.
They were always on my desk. He could have looked at them at any time.
Then if I could have looked at them any time.
Mr. Davis, did he ask you to see at any time the original bills?
No, ma'am, he did not. The agreement on when he moved in was $300 a month in rent, $300 security deposit, which he only paid 100 of.
Which is a lie.
He was to pay 50% of the electric, 50% of the gas.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
It sounds reasonable, sir, that when you move in, you say, I'm going to pay this much in rent, and this is the portion of the utilities that I'm going to pay. You agreed to pay 50%.
At first.
There was no change, ma'am.
Then you got angry that you were paying 50% because he was using more utilities than you were because he was running a business out of it.
Right.
Right.
Not
Well,
angry,
then you
but
have
I felt like he was using me, and I was paying more than
Then
my
you
fair
have-
share.
No, listen to me, Mr. White. You didn't make a contract with him for $300 a month plus your fair share of utilities. You made a contract with him for $300 a month and 50% of the utilities.
Yes.
And then you unilaterally wanted to change that because he was using more of the utilities than you were.
Right.
Right? You can't do that. And quite frankly, I cannot say in good conscience that I am satisfied that those things emanated from him and that they were disseminated to anyone, because I have no proof that they were disseminated to anyone. I have no proof that they were disseminated to your mother, to Al-Anon, to your father. I have no proof of that, sir. I only have your statement that they were. So I have two problems. I have two problems. One is that I'm not convinced that he did it. He seems to think that you did it yourself. That's what he seems to suggest in his answer.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know why anybody would be nuts enough to do that themselves. Right. But even if he did it, I don't have any proof, sir, that it was disseminated to anyone. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. So your lawsuit and his countersuit are dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Well, I think his charges were totally erroneous. I mean, I've never seen the documentation that he showed. I worked 2.5 jobs, so it's like I don't have time to make crap like that. Let him take his best shot.
You ain't seen nothing yet, baby.
Step forward, please.
31-year-old police officer Peter Harris is suing 57-year-old Nick Ice for filing a false police brutality complaint after Nick was arrested for assault.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 96 on the calendar in the matter of Harris versus Ice.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Mr. Harris, you are a police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is that?
I work for the city of Los Angeles.
According to your complaint, you were in the performance of your duty, working one evening, responded to a call, and arrested the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And subsequent to that arrest, which you say was relatively routine, with the exception of the fact that the defendant resisted arrest.
Correct. There was a minor altercation.
But subsequent to that arrest, he lodged a complaint against you,
Correct.
which caused a police investigation, internal affairs investigation. And tell me why you want to be compensated.
Because his complaint against me was absolutely false. He had said that I had struck him in the knee with a baton after he was handcuffed. He not only made this complaint with the police department, he sent a 2-page letter to City Councilman Joel Walk's office, which is what started the whole affair and the whole investigation. He was then later brought in to the police station by my supervisors, was advised that and signed a complaint advisory form which states that he understands that making a false allegation against a police officer, he may be arrested have charges filed against him under 148.6 of the California Penal Code.
You do not deny hitting him on the knee.
Oh, ma'am, I did not hit him on the knee at all.
You did not?
No, ma'am, he was never struck. He was taken to the ground, but he was never struck.
Okay. And that was before he had handcuffs put on him?
Correct.
And the reason he was taken to the ground is because he resisted being cuffed?
Correct.
Can I see his complaint, please? And tell me what happened to you as a result of this, Officer Harris.
Well, it was quite a long, drawn-out process. It took probably several months. I was quite edgy and irritable because of this. I suffered a lot of stress at home, at work. At times when it may have been necessary to use force against somebody, I may have been a little apprehensive in using that force, which could have been detrimental to my health.
How long have you been a police officer, sir?
8 years.
How many complaints have been filed against you in that 8-year period?
Civilian complaints?
Civilian complaints.
One. One
other than this one?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long ago was that?
1991, ma'am.
And what was the outcome of that investigation?
I was found not guilty on all charges except for one, which was neglect of duty because I failed to properly document an incident.
And how many arrests have you made in 8 years?
Hundreds.
All right, sir. You were in a bar, you were playing pool? Listen to me carefully.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were in a bar playing pool.
I was playing pool. I was about 40 feet away. I heard a glass crash to the floor. We looked up, and there was a fist fight going on at the end of the bar, which is, I say, about 40, 50 feet away. Then 2 bikers took off quick out the door. We finished our pool game. Everybody was going crazy down at the end of the bar, so we just stayed away from it. We finished our pool game, and after that, I went and I sat down in the center of the bar. I said, "May I please have a bottle of Budweiser?" I took 2 sips. This officer walked up behind me, said, "You're under arrest." I said, "For what? I haven't done anything." He didn't say anything to me. He just cuffed me and started leading me out the door. Then I repeated this several times, that I hadn't done anything. What was I under arrest for? He didn't say anything. Then I was struck. I told him that I had 16 screws in my right leg. He proceeded to hit me in the left leg with his baton, I believe it was baton, and knocked my leg out from underneath me, and I fell forward onto the cement and received 6 or 7 stitches in the chin, which my doctor removed.
Don't play with paper, sir. He doesn't deny that you had injury to your chin.
All right.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. He did sustain an injury in the altercation.
And it's your testimony, sir, that at the time of this incident, you were outside. You had already been handcuffed inside the bar. That's what you
Correct.
say here. Is that right?
Correct.
And Officer Harris, according to your papers, sir, fortunately for you, there was people taking videos of this incident.
Yes, ma'am. The entire incident was captured by the LAPD Life on the Beat film crew who was riding with me that day.
Were you aware of that, sir?
Yes, I was.
Have you ever seen this film?
No, I haven't. But
Well,
they-
let's see it together.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Somebody else was taken out of this bar, looked like the head was all covered with bandages, bleeding from the eye, right? Clearly there was a melee inside.
And later today,
I just miss my things. You know, they're precious memories that I don't have now.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Officer Peter Harris says Nick Ice filed a false police brutality complaint after Nick was arrested. Nick says Peter struck his legs with a baton for no reason, knocking him to the ground.
Have you ever seen this film?
No, I haven't.
You have it with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me see it.
Hang on. I got to know what's going on before I can press any charges against anybody. What's happening?
Nothing. I was sitting at the bar and she came up. Come on, John. I put my hand up, protect myself. The one turn. Her sunglasses down.
Turn your wrist around now.
After repeated requests for compliance, the officers must use force in order to apply the handcuffs.
Hell, I'm not trying to do anything. For God's sake. What's the matter?
Do you have any ID on you? You guys want to look at him, please?
For God's sakes. I was standing there, mind my own business. I didn't do a thing.
Well, first of all, Mr. Rice, I have the following comments to you, sir. From the sound of your voice on that tape, you had had more than just a few sips of beer that evening.
I hadn't had anything to drink before I came in, Your Honor, and I played 3 games of pool.
That's first. That is my impression of your slurred words. Second of all, you were clearly not handcuffed until you got outside. That's what that showed.
I made a mistake on that. Everything went so fast. I thought I was handcuffed before I was taken outside.
Mr. Rice, that's a big difference. Clearly, from watching that tape, you were escorted outside the bar. You certainly resisted having the handcuffs put on. They told you to put your hands back. You didn't. Doesn't look to me as if anybody hit you with anything. It looked to me as if Officer Harris twisted you and brought you down. Now, I don't mind looking at that tape again. You want to take a look at it again, sir?
No.
Huh? I
No,
didn't
Your
see any
Honor.
use of a baton, Mr. Rice.
The next morning, I woke up, and I couldn't even stand up. I was hitting the leg with something.
Just a second. Could we rewind that, please? I want Mr. Rice to look
doesn't
at it again.
It doesn't look like it on the tape. But
Well, you're not suggesting that Officer Harris doctored this tape, are you?
I am not, no.
Press any charges against anybody. What's happening?
Nothing. I was sitting at the bar and she came up.
See your hands, sir? They're clear. See, he's handcuffing you now.
Protect myself. The one turn.
This looks like some fight.
Yeah, but I wasn't involved in the fight.
After repeated requests for compliance, the officers must use force in order to apply the handcuffs.
Hell, I'm not trying to do anything.
Now look.
For God's sake. What's the matter?
Do you have any ID on you?
Okay. That's enough. Thank you. Officer Harris, you were the officer who twisted him around. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
right? It is clear, sir, that this gentleman, in the course of effectuating an arrest, trying to get you to comply and put your hands behind your back, you didn't do that. He twisted you around and brought you to the ground. Well, what you deserved. You're supposed to comply with an officer's direction. Unfortunately, I do believe, Mr. Rice, that the problem was you'd had more than a couple of sips that evening before he got there. So your memory is a little fuzzy about what happened. Now, Officer Harris is doing something that probably a lot of police officers don't do, which is sue civilly when you make a false allegation. Your allegation was clearly false, sir. I mean, I'm reading your complaint.
I was not in a fight. I didn't do anything except play a game pool.
And Mr. Rice, that's not the issue, sir. The issue is not whether or not you were the victim of a false arrest. That's a totally different issue. You were alleging police brutality.
Which is the case.
Oh, no, sir. I just looked at this tape. There was no police brutality. They may not have had probable cause to arrest you. I'm not hearing that part of the case, although I saw somebody from the bar step outside and say he assaulted the owner.
Yes, ma'am.
The owner retracted that statement.
Whether the owner retracted that statement or not, Mr. Rice, at the time this officer came on the scene, he had a statement by a civilian where somebody else was taken out of this bar, looked like the head was all covered with bandages, bleeding from the eye, right? Clearly there was a melee inside, and he had a statement from somebody that you had assaulted somebody. So he had a clear responsibility at that point to arrest you. The only issue is whether, in effectuating that arrest, he acted in a brutal fashion, which is what you allege in your complaint.
But I was being arrested for something I had absolutely nothing to do with.
That has nothing to do with whether or not he had the obligation to arrest you. He had a statement from a witness that said you were involved in an assault. And that's what we have courts for, that's what we have judges for, that's what you have juries for. And it may turn out, after it's all ferreted out, that there is no basis for the further prosecution of the case. That doesn't mean that every time someone is found not guilty, the police are sued. We had a statement from a witness. Whether later they recanted it and retracted it is not the issue. Said, I made a mistake. So you did the wrong thing. And he's got to be compensated. How many times have you been arrested? Mr. Rice, did you hear my question?
I couldn't say, Your Honor.
What do you mean you couldn't say?
I've had a couple 502s.
What's a 502?
Drunking under the influence.
Right. So I would suggest, sir, that you don't handle your alcohol well. And that maybe you ought to do something about it.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
There are some very good lock pickers. I know I've put a lot of them in jail over the course of my career.
closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. 31-year-old police officer Peter Harris is suing 57-year-old Nick Ice for filing a false police brutality complaint after Nick was arrested for assault.
So, Officer Harris, tell me what you think you should be compensated for this, and I absolutely agree that you should be compensated.
Well, ma'am, I put down $5,000 because that is the jurisdiction of this court, and I would feel that anything that this court would be giving me in this case, I would respect any amount.
How about, Officer Harris, if I give you your $5,000, $2,500 for you and $2,500 for the Police Benevolent Fund in Los Angeles?
That sounds like a very good idea.
That's the judgment, $5,000 to be divided that way. Thank you.
And now the next case.
All parties on Hostetler versus Eaton. Step forward, please.
37-year-old Tracy Hostetler is suing her former friend, 41-year-old Barbara Eaton, for stealing items from her storage space. Both will be translated by sign language interpreter Brenda Roberts.
Ms. Hostetler, according to your complaint, you shared a storage space with the defendant. It was your storage space, and you told her that she could store some of her things there for a small fee. You are claiming that she stole some things from your storage space.
Yeah. Yes.
Could you tell me, please, why you decided to share a storage space with her?
When I was sharing with my ex-boyfriend Gary, that was happening then, and so then I wanted to have my own storage space. And then a month later, her brother wanted her things out of his van because he needed to sell the van. So I offered her to help her out to share my storage space. And I asked her to try her best to pay some rent if she was able to, but I know she didn't have any job or she wasn't on SSI.
When you went to your storage space, you found certain things missing. Was there a key or was it a combination lock to the storage space?
There was a key.
What was missing?
There was a round table, some chairs, a Dutch shelf, video camera, microwave. There's actually a lot more. I have pictures of some.
Yeah, show me the pictures of what you have. Did you confront the defendant about taking the property from your storage space?
Yes, I did. I asked if she had stolen them, and she denied it. And I do believe that she stole it because Sunday I checked my things and they were there. 2 days later, I called her to move her stuff out because my things were way in the back. And 2 days later, it was missing.
Did you take any of her things?
No, I did not.
Do you know who did take her things?
No, I do not. In fact, I had a few things of mine missing, which I don't know what all I have missing, just a few things that I know of just offhand. But
like what?
It was just old, a few old mirrors. I had big wall mirrors, and I had a butcher block knife set, and a couple of Budweiser beer mugs that were collectors.
Mm-hmm. When you found your things were missing, you asked to look in the new storage space that she had rented, according to this. Is that right?
Yes.
And none of your things were there. Is that right?
No, no. I believe it's in another place. I don't know.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Ms. Hosteller, just because she had the opportunity to take the things out of your storage space doesn't mean that you can prove to any court's satisfaction that she did in fact take them out of the storage space. Do you understand? There are a lot of people that can get into those very cheap locks.
There wasn't any damage to the lock, though.
Doesn't have to be any damage to the lock. There are some very good lock pickers. I know I've put a lot of them in jail over the course of my career. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know what happened to your things. You're not sure of what happened to your things, so I can't enter a judgment for you. That's unfortunate. My suggestion, don't share a storage space with anybody. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I had personal things of my memories of my past, my wedding. And I just miss my things. You know, they're precious memories that I don't have now.
Well, I'm sorry that she, feels that I took it, and I mean, I just hope that she can understand eventually in time that I don't have it.
Step forward, please.
25-year-old Jennifer Trombley is suing her husband, Russell Trombley, claiming he physically abused her throughout their marriage. Mr. Trombley's countersuit alleges that his wife has a drug problem and has neglected their daughter.
Order. All rise. Judge, it's number 159 on the calendar in the matter of Trombley versus Trombley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You two folks are married, in the process of getting a divorce. You've been married for 2 years. You have a 2-year-old child, Mrs. Trombley. I have your complaint. You are seeking $5,000 from your husband for emotional stress.
Yes, I am.
Well, I'd like you to tell me about it. You have a countersuit. I'll hear that in a minute. Go ahead.
Well, I'm really suing because he broke into my best friend's house.
I tell you,
While I was
this
there.
has nothing to do with your best friend's house. There's nothing in here in the complaint about
Well, he
your
broke
best
in there
friend's
and
house.
attacked me.
Well, let
That's
me hear
what brought
about it.
this complaint.
Let me hear about it. The attacking you is something else. Let me hear about the attacking you.
Once he entered the house,
Yeah.
he ran through the house and threw me against the wall and kicked me and then left with our daughter screaming in the living room.
What had precipitated this?
I hadn't come home the night before because
Why not?
Because I was afraid of getting hit. And when I did come home in the morning, he raised his hand to me, and if he hadn't seen my friend, he would have hit me.
That's untrue. There was no threat of violence of her coming home at any point ever. She was with her friend partying late into the night.
He says you do drugs, Mrs. Trombley, and that you depleted the bank account of your family, took checks out, forged checks, ran up bills, forced them into bankruptcy, all because you were doing drugs and staying out, partying with your friends, etc. Any of that true?
Some of it's true.
What's true?
I do have a past history of drug abuse.
We're not talking about past. We're talking about current.
No, I don't.
What makes you think she has a drug problem?
Oh, I have all kinds of ample evidence to prove that she has a drug problem. Just as of July 18th, I got a call from Burbank Police Department who had just arrested a drug dealer, stating that he had my calling card. I have here 12 pages of the calls that this man made with my calling card. Who was given?
Who is this man?
This man's name is nicknamed Morbid.
You know that person?
Yes, I do.
Well, what does he do for a living?
He deals drugs, right, Jen? He deals drugs.
What does he do for a living?
He doesn't really do much for a living.
He deals drugs. And this is Jen's main drug dealer. This is a man that she went to Mexico with.
While you were married?
What? Last month.
Is that right?
Yes.
Terrific.
My wife disappeared for 3 days on the premise that she was going to look for jobs. At 2 p.m., with no hassle, no fighting, we had made love in the morning. At 2 p.m., she said, I'm on my way to go put some applications in. I did not see my wife for 3 days, at which she had taken both sets of our car keys and left me in the care of our daughter. I have a full-time job. I had to take 3 days off from work. On the 3rd day, risking financial ruin and losing my job, I had to take my 2-year-old daughter to work with me. No calls from my wife.
Does that sound familiar to you, Miss Trombley?
Yes, that's all true. And it was all because I was afraid to come home because he was hitting me.
Afraid to come home, so she takes a vacation with a drug dealer to Tijuana, Mexico.
Mr. Trombley,
Order.
Let me tell you this, sir. Let me tell you this. I read your answer to her complaint. Her complaint is nonsense. I don't know whether you hit her when you got into the house.
I'll explain to you exactly the events preceding that incident.
Your Honor, we have 2 separate police reports for domestic violence.
We have
and a
one
restraining order
police
that was
report.
put on against him.
Was there
for
ever a
my
trial
protection.
on that restraining order?
Yes, there was.
And what happened to it?
What happened to it?
Today, that case was settled and dropped, plead out.
What do you mean, settle, drop, plead out? What does that mean?
I pleaded no contest to 1 count of battery.
Does that have to do with this incident?
It has to do with the incident where I pushed my wife away from a front door for not taking our personal life into a hallway.
Was that at her friend's house? Just
Yes.
a second.
Yes.
This is the incident at the friend's house.
Yes, let me...
Let me.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll ask you to fill in so that there is some semblance here. According to your answer, she had gone over to her friend Lori's house, right? And this was after she had disappeared for a few days.
No, that's...
She had already disappeared. There were periods of time, according to your answer, sir, that she had left you in care to care for your daughter.
Yes.
And you were afraid that when she went to Lori's house and didn't come home right away, that she was going to do it again.
Well, let me explain a little bit earlier in the evening. It was that very morning that I was late for work. My wife came home at 6:30 where I would have had to have left at 10 of 6 to make it to work. She knows this. We've had many, many fights about it. It's when she showed up with Lori, I did go like this in anger, not to hit her, but just as a show. I'm this angry. How could you do this to me again? That very night, when I came home from work, Lori and Jen and Aubrey were there in the house. They said, we're going to take Aubrey out and get some shoes. They left. They came back at, I'm sorry, at 7:30 p.m. while I was watching TV. My daughter comes through the front door crying, but my wife did not come through the door. I opened up the front door, and my wife was at the bottom of the stairs and says to me, I'm going to the car for a minute. 5 minutes later, she didn't come back from the car, and the car was gone. It's at that time that I assumed she probably went back over to Lori's. I drove over there with my daughter, and that's where she was.
Well,
I found that that was kind of
if you weren't
peculiar.
Screaming your head off.
I wasn't
Mr.
screaming at
Trumbley,
anything.
Mr. Trumbley.
Yes. May I continue?
No. Because while I can smell a drug problem from at least 15 feet away, and she has a drug problem.
Yes, that's true.
Based upon my assessment of her demeanor and based upon the things that she has said to me so far, I have some trouble with your response. And let me tell you why, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm just a hardworking guy. I have no record. I've never been expelled from school. I'm nothing but a decent guy that was raised the right way.
And later today,
You
So
came
that
in
means-
with your girlfriend, Christina,
Girlfriend?
who now lives with you.
Well,
who
I'm going to
is-
have him live with
Who
me?
is your lover? Admit it, okay?
Okay.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Russell Trombley denies his wife Jennifer's allegations of abuse and claims she's guilty of neglecting their daughter.
You have a 2-year-old daughter. You say you know your wife has a current drug problem.
Yes.
If your wife has a current drug problem, I don't care what you have to do, you make sure that your wife is never left in charge of your child. You didn't do that. What you wanted her to do was to be around to take care of your daughter. Just a second. And I don't care if you have to get a babysitter. I don't care if you have to quit your job. I don't care what you have to do. You do not leave a drug user in charge of a 2-year-old baby, and I don't care if the drug user is your wife. Number one. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Number two. According to your answer, sir, you went over to the house, to this Lori's house, because you didn't want to be in the position again of having to look for somebody to take care of your daughter when you had to go to work the next morning and you had an early morning call. Is that right?
Yes. We've exhausted all of our daycare issues. My wife left our daycare with a $300 bill that we owed them.
Sir.
We had no one else. We have no
Sir,
relatives here.
So let me tell you this. There are many people, unfortunately, in your position whose mate, whether it be a husband or a wife, has a drug addiction problem. You're supposed to try to be supportive of each other if you can, but at that point, there is only one innocent. And that innocent is a child, especially a 2-year-old child that cannot protect herself. So at that point, you can't worry about her anymore. She's got a drug problem and hangs around with Mork or whatever his name is,
Morbid.
Dork. Those are the kind of people that you hang around with if you got a drug problem.
That's all she hangs out with.
Drug dealers.
All drug dealers. That's
Fine.
everybody she knows.
Well, then, sir, if you allow your daughter to hang around with her and to hang around with drug dealers, then you are as guilty of neglect as she is. Do you understand me?
With
In
all-
my eyes.
With all due respect, Judge,
Yeah.
these are events that have only come to my knowledge within the last couple of months. All of these things
Sir,
have been
during
hidden
the time,
and lied
during,
about.
Sir, during that time, during that couple of month period, you still left your daughter in your wife's care.
But I was only doing that on the premise that she was over at her friend's house. I didn't know that there was drugs involved at that
Trombley,
night.
you can't have it both ways. We understand each other. You cannot have it both ways.
There was not at any point that I felt my daughter was in danger
Well,
from my
I'm telling
wife.
you that it's not true. What I'm telling you is, if you are mated to a drug user who cavorts with other drug users and abusers and dealers, you are a neglectful parent if you leave a 2-year-old child with her.
I was doing everything I could.
All right.
ma'am.
So Let me get to your cross complaint because I'm going to take care of this nonsense right away. You say that she spent a lot of your family money?
She spent all of our money.
Good. That's what happens. It's a very good idea for you to get out of this marriage, to take charge of your daughter, and to start building a life with her, if that's what you think that you can do. Do you understand?
Yeah, that's everything I'm seeking and aiming for. But
very good.
These are the events that handle our lives every day, though. While I'm trying to litigate this, I am being forced to move out of California, forced to give up my dreams, forced to give up my career.
That's very sad. You made a mistake. That's what happens when people make a mistake.
I made a grand mistake, and
That's what happens when you make a mistake.
I understand that.
Good.
But understand, Judge, that I have pleaded and begged my wife to get drug counseling, to stop fraternizing with these people.
This case is dismissed. The counterclaim is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
I want to get as far away from this woman as I can. I believe she's nothing but pure evil and will not help herself. I don't think there's any saving her.
And now the next case.
Parties on Silvas versus Boga. Step forward.
70-year-old Frank Silvas is suing 33-year-old Christina Boger, a woman he says was his lover and bride-to-be. According to Frank, when their plans to move in together fell through, Christina kept his furniture. But Christina says she and Frank were never boyfriend and girlfriend, and the furniture was a gift.
Mr. Silvas, according to your papers, sir, you are a recent widower.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were married to your wife for 45 years?
No, 41.
41 years. Shortly after her death, you met the defendant.
Right, but 18 months after.
And she was selling some sort of electrical
Well, the
bed?
night before I met her, somebody called the house was to make an appointment to sell mattresses. And I told the gentleman, says, I'm not going to buy one. He said, well, we got a new sales person. He didn't tell me it was a male or a female, you know.
Cut to the chase.
Okay.
She came to sell you a new mattress.
Right.
And according to your complaint, sold you a lot more.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I slept with her about three or four different times. In fact, we went to Laughlin. First time we went to Laughlin.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 70-year-old Frank Silvas is suing 33-year-old Christina Boger because he claims she kept his furniture when their romance ended.
Over the course of several months...
Almost a year.
You gave her a lot of money.
Right.
According to your papers, gave her loans of over $30,000.
Right.
But you know that you can't get that here.
Right.
What you're suing for here is a return of your furniture.
Yes, ma'am.
So
yes,
tell me how she came to have your furniture in her possession.
Okay, when her roommate moved out, I was supposed to, move in, see? So, I says, well, we'll take my furniture up there to sell my house. Then she kept putting the dates off,
What dates?
That I was supposed to move in. But prior to that, Your Honor, she said she would marry me.
Did you ask her to marry you?
Yes, and she kept putting that off.
Okay. So you asked her to marry you. When did you ask her to marry you?
Before the first of the year, first time.
And what did she say?
She says, I don't know you that good, let's wait a while.
So what happened? The romance is clearly over.
Well, I got evidence right here that really turned me off. She came into my house, took two blank checks and forged them. One for $1,000, one for $350. Then she came back into the house and grabbed those two checks and burned them up. That's what she told me. She burned them. But I got copies from the bank. I got the police report on each one of them.
When do you say she did this?
I didn't find out about it till May, actually, Your Honor, when I got my bank statements.
How come he gave you this money?
Well,
I assume you're going to tell me he gave you the money.
Yes, he plays a victim well. He was always there to be very helpful to me, and was there to volunteer anytime I needed something. We started up a business together. This money that he's talking about that he lent to me was based on this business we started together, and any money that he gave me was to help me get this business up and going, and he was, in return, got a percentage of this business.
Just a second. Did he get anything in return?
Yes, when he was doing his job.
Just a minute. What did he get in return?
He got a percentage of the business, which was 10%.
How much does that translate to in cash?
About $600-700 in cash.
So he invested thousands and he got $600-700.
Let me explain something though. He stopped doing the business, and ultimately the business fell. It's not even in existence now because he wouldn't give me the information so I can continue to run this business. He kept it.
He gave you a lot of money, madam. I have checks here. A lot of money.
Okay.
A lot.
Your Honor, he's 69 years old. I'm 30. This man's got 45 years on me. He decides to give me money or do what he decides to do. You think he'd have... It's all been his choice. It's all been his choice from the beginning to do these things. Frank did everything...
Did you at any time discuss with him getting married?
No, he discussed it with me.
When for the first time?
He asked me to marry him so many times, I couldn't tell you. It was literally the first time 60 days after I knew him was the first time he asked me to marry him.
And what did you say to him?
I said, no, I don't know you well enough. And he was a heavy drinker, and I have a baby, and there's a big age difference. And I told him, I said, no, I think
a big age difference is 40 years. You know, a big age difference is 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. 40 years is a big age difference. Did you ever say to him, no, sir, you're too old and I'm not going to be involved with you romantically?
I never said he was too old. The age difference was a concern, but it was his drinking that was more of a concern to me.
But that didn't stop you from taking money from him.
For the business, we were business partners.
I'm not talking about the business. So far, the business he got a couple $100 from, if I believe you, and he put in thousands according to these checks. And it's not made out to a business. It's made out directly to you, and you cash the checks. It's not made out to a business account. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. But I'm telling you now, don't piddle on my leg and tell me it's raining, madam. I'm too smart for you. Do you understand? Do you understand? If you took money from him because he was prepared to give it to you and you were prepared to take it, that's one thing. He's not suing you for the money. Yet. So don't give me any baloney about business. Business checks, if they're made to a business, they're put in a business name. Your business, I assume, had a name. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the name of the business?
Wilbur Banks and Associates.
So if he was lending money to the business, it would have been business checks, not payable to you.
Okay, when I came to him and discussed certain things with him, he was there to help me. He said, whatever you need, I'm here to help you. I asked him what he wanted in return. He said, just to be close to you, to be your friend. And I said that was fine. He could write me a check, and I could do whatever I wanted with it if he chose to give it to me.
Right, so you used them. Now, let's talk about the furniture.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I want to know if the following things are in your home, madam. Butcher block.
Pardon me?
Show this to her, please. Are those things in your home?
Yes, they are.
Good. Can I have it, please? Court will draft an order that within 3 days of today, all those items will be picked up and returned to Mr. Silvas. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
All of them. And they better be in the same condition that they were when he gave them to you. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Judge. Excuse, you may step out.
And on the next Judge Judy.
Was
you
in my
used
driveway.
This guy, okay? He was in love
Right.
with you, and you used him.
I used him, right?
Okay?
But he'll never tell
and you. Had
you guys.
your lover move in
You're right.
with you.
You know what? You're all right.
Whose
This
bed are
report.
you sleeping in, Christina?
This has nothing. This
Okay.
doesn't. My God, you
That's
guys
all I
are.
wanna
You guys
say.
are petty.
I slept with her about three, 4 different times. In fact, we went to Laughlin. First time we went to Laughlin.
Sandoval versus Gentry. Step forward, please.
25-year-old Rich Sandoval says his former girlfriend, Sandy Gentry, 23, falsely led him to believe that he was the father of her child. When he discovered he was not the father, he filed a $5,000 suit claiming emotional distress.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 261 on the calendar in the matter of Sandoval versus Gentry. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Sandoval, according to your papers, sir, you and the defendant dated briefly and were romantically involved, were sexually intimate.
Yes.
And there came a time when you broke up.
Yes.
And during that time, you were pregnant, had a baby. Is that right?
Yes.
And you called him and told him that you would have the baby.
Yes. Yeah.
And invited him to come over to see the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what you said to him?
Yes, when we were at my house, I had told him that I had been with another person, but I was pretty sure that he had been the father because I had used a condom with the other guy that I was with. So I let him know straight up that I had been with another guy. So.
Did she tell you that, sir?
No.
Hmm? She never told you that?
No, she did not.
That doesn't make sense, madam, that you would tell him that when you invite him over to see the baby and say, listen, this could be yours and it couldn't be yours. In any event, she told you that the baby was yours?
That's correct.
And at that time, according to these papers, you weren't living close to each other.
That's correct.
Where were you living, sir?
I was living in Stockton with my mother.
And where were you living?
I was living in Hayward with my parents.
And how far is that away?
About 50 miles.
And you moved?
Yes, I moved to be near the child.
Did you take an apartment?
I rented a house with my friend.
And you were visiting the baby?
Yes.
How often?
About at least 3 times a week.
Would you go over to her parents' house?
Yes, I would.
Is that right?
I did.
A couple times, yes.
So he would come over and visit with the baby. Were you present when he visited with the baby?
Yes.
Did you hold the baby?
Yes, I did.
Did you feed the baby?
Yes, I did.
Did he?
Yes.
Did you take the baby out?
Yes, I did. Sometimes with her, sometimes away from her.
And for how long did this go on?
From the time she was about 3.5 weeks till she was about 5.5 months.
So for 5.5 months, for 5 months, you spent a lot of time with the baby.
Yes.
And then there came a time when you were called into court for child support.
No, that's not true.
What happened?
I initiated court proceedings against her because she would not give me any access to the child whatsoever.
Well, what happened that stopped this free flow of visitation that you had?
We began having problems arguing over money and things because she didn't think that I was trying hard enough to look for work.
So you were arguing over something?
Yes.
Did there come a time when you told him that he wasn't to see the baby anymore?
Yes, he was harassing me at work. He kept calling me. I told him not to call me in case of an emergency. He called me anyway, over and over again.
What would he call you about?
What are you doing? I'm at work. I'm working, you know?
Yes.
And I said, you know, just please call me, you know, if there's an emergency, and he would call me just any time.
Well, what did that have to do with the baby?
And then he would go over the babysitter's house. You know, she asked him to call first. He wouldn't call first. He just started showing up over there. It's just, it's just a bunch of things that just came down to it. I don't.
So you told him that he couldn't see the baby anymore. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So you went to court.
Yes, I did.
And when you went to court, you had a blood test.
Yes, and it excluded me.
And the blood test said that you could not possibly be the biological father of this child.
That's correct.
And then what happened, sir? Because that's not the only thing that you're suing her for, the fact that she misled you.
I got served papers at my aunt's house in March, on March 20th, and I received the papers by April.
And that was the state calling you into court for child support.
Correct.
Because you had listed his name as the father.
And the welfare department, they have you put down.
No, listen to me. Just answer my question.
Yes.
You had listed his name as the father.
And the other guy also. They have you put down whoever the father could be on a child support paper. And so, you know, you put down both of them and they go from there.
So you were called into court again, sir?
Yes. And I was told that they would start detaching my wages, taking my taxes. And I sent them copies of this paternity test, and I mean, they wouldn't hear it. They said because there was 2 parties that took the test that I had to resubmit it again.
So you took the test again?
Yes, I did.
And it again excluded you?
Yes, correct.
Did you have to pay for the blood test?
The second one, no, I did not.
Did you have to pay for the first one?
Yes, I did.
How much did you have to pay for the first one?
I believe it was $440.
Did you have to pay for a lawyer?
No, I represented myself completely.
Did you have any other expenses, sir, as a result of this proceeding? Out-of-pocket expenses?
Out of my pocket?
Yes.
Court fees?
How much were the court fees?
$370.
Anything else?
No.
Now, for my own information, Miss Gentry, what happened when they blood tested the other man who you claimed that you named?
They're still trying to find him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So as painful as it is right now to you, taught you a very good lesson. You want to fool around? Cover up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 25-year-old Rich Sandoval says when a court-ordered paternity test proved he was not the father of Sandy Gentry's baby, he sued for emotional stress. Sandy says she made an honest mistake and is being harassed by Mr. Sandoval.
You working now?
No, I'm not.
Why not?
I'm trying to establish where I'm living and, you know, I'm trying to get a job, yes.
Where were you working before?
Just odd jobs through a temp agency.
So why did you stop working?
Because I just couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't handle him. He came to my work, or someone came to my work, and I just couldn't take the harassment anymore.
What harassment?
From him. And I just couldn't take it anymore. What was going on?
Well, explain to me what was going on, Miss Gentry. I don't understand what was going on.
Well, just he would harass me, and he would...
That's a conclusion. How did he harass you?
He would call me, he would threaten me.
How did he threaten you?
He threatened me and my friend over the phone.
What did he say, madam?
That he was, if I didn't watch out, I was going to be shot, things like that. I don't...
Did you ever say that to her? You know, the problem, Miss Gentry, is when a court gets the impression that somebody's a liar, they question everything that they say. Now, you told this man that he was the father of this child. He believed you.
I did tell him that there was another guy, that there was a possibility that the other guy might have been the father, but...
I don't believe that. It doesn't strike me as being accurate, madam, that you gave him any suggestion whatsoever that this was not his child, because if you did, it is unlikely that he would have left his mother's house and moved to be closer to the baby, that he would have gone over and spent days with this baby, bonding with this baby, feeding her according to you, holding her, taking her out, taking her to... You're his mother?
Yes.
Did he used to bring the baby to your house?
Yes.
Visiting a grandmother, getting this whole family involved with this baby. If you had said to him, listen, there's a chance the baby's not yours, doesn't make sense. That's why I think you're a liar. And I think you're a liar when you say that he threatened to shoot you. And I do. I do.
I have my witness right here.
Oh, yes, step up.
Yeah.
Step up. Let me hear your witness. Who are you?
I'm Gina.
Gina what?
Gina Ita.
How do you know her?
My brother is dating her. And
your brother's dating her?
Uh-huh.
Another genius.
Through the times that she moved out of her mother's house and was living with me for a while.
What was she living with you for?
To get back on her feet.
But was she dating your brother at the time?
Uh-huh.
What do you want to tell me about these threats, madam? You have anything to tell me firsthand?
For threats, yeah, he has called. He said, you better watch your back. I will get you.
Okay. And under what circumstance did he say that to you?
He called up.
Called up for what?
For no reason. Harassing. He called up for no reason.
Was his child living in your house?
Yes, she was.
Sit down. Listen, Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
When you had sexual relations with this lady, did you use protection?
No, I didn't.
Dumb.
I know.
Very dumb. You almost deserve what you get if you don't use protection. You know?
True.
What you got was a story that you had a child, but you could have gotten was a lot worse.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes.
And I think she's as manipulative as can be. because she let you see the baby, then she stopped you from seeing the baby. She found a new boyfriend. She moved out of her mother's house. Her mother probably was fed up with her. She moved into the sister's house of the boyfriend. Sounds to me as if your baby's going to need a lot of luck. Baby's got a father who's off someplace else. We don't know who he is. Right now, we're in the third relationship that I know about. Him, the one who's in the wind, who maybe is the father, and this new boyfriend. So what are you suing for, sir?
I'm suing for loss of wages from when I left in February up until present time now.
Now listen.
The cost that it took me to relocate from my mother's house to move down there to be near this child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you're saying, it does not sound logical. And if it doesn't sound logical, to me, it didn't happen.
And later today,
there are blue chip stocks to invest in if you want to invest your money. Rave parties are not smart. Got it?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
You're suing her for a lot of money. You want $5,000 in damages. And I don't think that there's probably any way that you're going to get $5,000, but I think she certainly has to pay you for every bit of out-of-pocket expenses that you have, plus something for punitive damages, because I think that she caused you a great deal of heartache.
Yes, she did.
You shaking your head no?
I'm just... Huh? I just don't understand why you don't believe that I didn't tell him that.
Why don't I believe it? It's not logical. You used him for the first few months until you found somebody else. And when you found somebody else, that's her brother, then you decided to cut him off. And when you decided to cut him off because you were too busy with another social event in your life, then he started to call and he wanted to see the baby. You were cutting him off. So he was forced at that point to go to the family court to establish his parental rights and establish visitation. That all sounds very, very logical. And what you're saying does not sound logical. And if it doesn't sound logical, to me, it didn't happen. The truth of the matter is, Mr. Sandoval, it was a good thing that she stopped you from seeing the baby, because you could have gone on for 5 years.
That's correct.
Been paying all kinds of child support, allowed to further bond with this baby, and you would never have known that she wasn't yours. You could have gone on for 20 years, and all of a sudden you needed a blood transfusion. You take her blood, and they say to you, sorry, this baby that you've loved for 20 years really isn't yours. So as painful as it is right now to you, it was only 5 months worth of pain at your age, and taught you a very good lesson. You want to fool around? Cover up. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
I guess he just wants money. I don't know what he wants.
No, justice. There's a difference.
Whatever.
And now the next case.
All parties on Light versus Betts. Step forward, please.
Nancy Light is suing Ann Betts on behalf of her two children, 17-year-old Alexis and 15-year-old Aaron. Alexis and Aaron claim they invested $600 in a rave dance concert. They say they got ripped off and want their money back.
Who is Alexis?
That'd be me.
And you are how old?
I'm 17.
You're her mom?
Yeah.
And her brother?
Yeah.
Why don't the two of you sit down for a moment and just leave Alexis right here? All right. According to these papers, you were planning a rave party. Yes, is that pronounced correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to tell me what that is in a minute. And the plaintiff invested $600 in this party, and she received for her $600 $250 at the party's conclusion. She's suing you for the rest. Is that right?
Correct.
So who's going to tell me first what a rave party is?
It's an all-ages, non-alcoholic dance event. It's music that usually we bring lighting and sound in, and goes from 8 p.m. until 6 or 7 a.m. Spend anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 on a party, and it's to provide like all ages of children with things to do, kids and adults. And it's not a club scene; it's not an alcoholic thing.
Is that what you do for a living? Plan these parties?
No, it's just an extra thing that I do.
Okay. What prompted you to solicit funds from somebody who was a minor?
She wanted to invest in the party.
How did you know her?
She comes to parties.
Is that what happened?
We were friends. We were somewhat close friends going into this, and I guess March before the party, she asked my brother and I, actually my brother first, if he would like to invest, which was more like a loan, not really an investment. It was a loan that we would be getting paid back, because she knew that my mom was weary about letting us loan her this money because it's a large investment.
And according to your answer, at least, your defense to this lawsuit is twofold, right? You say, one, the party didn't make enough money, and second, because she's a minor, you couldn't enter into a valid contract with her.
We didn't have anything in writing. It was an investment, and when you make money, you make. When you lose, you lose.
I have a written statement here from Ann that was given to me the night after the party. I don't know, do you want to see this, or do you want me to read it to you, what it says?
Is that something you wrote to her?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Well, read me the pertinent part.
It will only take a few weeks of busting overtime and work and living clean, and you'll have my word. You'll have my word that I will have your money back ASAP. I am only sorry things didn't work out any easier. I will pay every penny back plus some interest. Thank you so much for your help and participation. Sincerely, Ann.
Sound familiar?
Yes.
So what happened?
Well, the other guy who was involved in the party stole about $3,000 from the party, and I was forced to pay back all the investment, which was like, he didn't pay any of it back, and I've paid all of it back but about $200. And since this has been written, I only owe them $200 now. There's another $150 that, of course, wasn't receipted, but she knows that I gave it to her after the last event.
Yeah, she did.
So that all she owes you now is $200?
Yeah.
All right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Betts, I wanted to find out what this rave party was, and I wanted to find out what your story was. Bottom line is, your second premise in defense of this lawsuit is wholly 100% incorrect under the law. When you enter into a contract with a minor, you do so at your own peril. You knew she was a minor, that she is incapable of entering into a valid contract, whether it be an investment or a loan. Therefore, anyone who enters into a contract with a minor, there is no contract. That money has to be paid back to her, because dealing with her, even though she's pretty smart, pretty savvy, and she sounds like she doesn't take any baloney from anybody, it's no different dealing with her than it would be dealing with someone who was 8 years old in the eyes of the law. So you couldn't go over to somebody, an 8-year-old who was running a lemonade stand on the corner and say, would you like to invest $25 in my rave party? You can't do that. So you owe her the $200. Be smart. You have to learn something before you involve yourself in business.
Well, yeah. I trusted her, though, and that's
It's not
the
a question
sad
of trust. It's a question of knowing what you know. At your age, you don't know a lot. Right?
Right.
You don't know a lot. You don't know a lot about business. You don't know a lot about people. Your mother probably does. But you don't.
She knows a lot.
That's why the law protects children from sometimes unscrupulous people who prey on young children to take their money out of their savings account, to take their money out of their piggy bank, to take their money out of their college fund, and invest in all kinds of harebrained schemes. There are blue chip stocks to invest in if you want to invest your money. Rave parties are not smart. Got it? Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
There was some drama and some scandal and some fighting going on, but now hopefully after this we can all kind of make amends and go about our lives.
They're not going to give her any more money.
Parties on Conant versus Randall. Step forward, please.
Singer Susan Conant claims former boyfriend, businessman Gerhard Randall, pushed her down and assaulted her. Gerhard says she was drunk and fell down.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. Thank you. Judge, this is case number 101 on the calendar in the matter of Conant versus Randall. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, ma'am, have a seat.
According to the papers that I've read, Miss Conant, you and the defendant had been involved in a romantic relationship. I gather he wanted to break it off.
That is correct.
You wanted to talk. So you went to his place of business, according to your complaint. He assaulted you there. You suffered injury. He is cross-complaining that since this incident, you have harassed him, that you stole his telephone book and been calling friends, women friends, etc. Correct?
That's correct.
So how long had you been going out before this incident?
I met him in early '97. We had been dating until October 27th when the incident happened. It had been an up and down, very rocky relationship. For 1 week he loved me, the next week he wanted me out and would order me out, and I would leave, and then I would come back and he would want to. He would be very affectionate and loving. He's a very charming, he can be very charmed. I was swept off my feet. I fell in love with him completely. By the time the 10th month or so came along, I was tired of being kicked out so many times that I finally decided I wanted to get the truth. And I went over there. I did take a half bottle of...
when you say you went over there, you went over to
his place of business, which is also where he was living at the time.
Okay.
And,
had you called first to tell him you were coming over?
I don't remember if I did or not, Your Honor. I honestly don't remember.
Okay,
I usually do.
But according to your papers, you had fortified yourself with some alcohol.
No, not before I went there. I brought it with me. I brought half a bottle of Bloody Mary mix with 2 shots of vodka in, and I brought it over there to share with him. I came up, I drove into his parking lot. I came up to his door. He ordered me to sit back in my car. He said, I'll be with you when I can. He was probably emailing, which he does all the time.
Ms. Conan, let me stop you right there.
Sure.
You look like and sound like an intelligent woman. You're in a 10-month relationship with somebody. You come to his home, place of business to talk. He tells you to go wait in the car.
I know.
Shouldn't that have told you, let me get out of here? This guy is
It should have.
nowhere.
But
All
I
right,
think
so you went and you sat in the car. And while you were sitting in the car, you were drinking, according to your papers.
Very little. He made me wait for about a half an hour. And yes, I should have known. I should have known. But as the saying goes, love is blind. And with me, sometimes it's blind, deaf, and dumb. Anyway, I waited out there for half an hour. I took a few sips. I was not intoxicated. He asked me in. I came in. We talked for about 2 hours. He asked me, he said, I want you to leave. And I said, no, I'm not going to leave. I want to know where we stand. Do you love me? Do you want a life with me? Do you want me to get out of here? You know that I love you. I just want to know what's going on. So at that point, it was like his demeanor switched. It was like a light bulb went off. He stood up, very angry, came over to me, grabbed me by my arms up off the sofa, and said, you get out of here now, and shoved me towards the door. And I think I fell down at that point. Then following that was about 45 minutes of this whole thing. I remember grabbing onto him, grabbing onto doors, grabbing onto walls, anything, because I didn't want to go. I know it sounds dumb, but I was desperate. I wanted an answer from him. I wanted him to come forth and tell me the truth.
He was telling you. He told you to leave.
No, I wanted to know if he loved me, not whether he wanted me to leave or not. I already knew he wanted me to leave. But anyway, he managed to get me out finally, in the end, by grabbing me by the arm. And I have some photographs here, if I can hand them to the bailiff. So he shoved me out. The worst thing, well, I was covered with bruises, but he shoved me out of the front door. I fell onto the concrete and lacerated my chin. And I was covered with blood. And I was blood in my hair, blood on my body and my clothes. When he saw that, he ran out to me. He grabbed me and picked me up, helped me back in, and he was saying, oh my God, oh my God. And he sat me down. He ran to get a bucket and water and tried to wash me off. At that point, I knew something was wrong. So I ran into the bathroom, turned on the light, and screamed because I was covered with blood. I looked like I'd been shot or something. So I ran back into the room, and I called the 911, and I said, please come help me quickly. I've been beat up or shoved. He never struck me or hit me, but he kicked me and pulled me and pushed me and shoved me.
Are you telling me that he shoved you down and he kicked you?
Yes.
And even after he shoved you down on the floor and he kicked you and told you, get out, you still didn't leave?
No, I did not want to. I didn't want to. You can laugh.
I'm not
Everybody
laughing.
can laugh.
I'm saying
Everyone
to
can
myself,
laugh,
an intelligent.
But my body
Order.
doesn't matter. My body doesn't matter to me. It's my heart that matters. I could have loved my.
Susan, what happened was that evening you'd lost it.
He lost it too, Your Honor.
Listen to me. Your behavior was not rational.
He could have called the police and asked them to come and get me to take me away.
That's true. But your behavior wasn't rational. I'm not excusing if he did what you
His
say he
behavior
did.
was not rational either. I was very much in love. I was very much tired of being mistreated. I have his letter. I have the
Don't tell me letter.
No, I have a police report. This is the police report. I think this would be very important, in which he admits. It says, I am listed as the victim and he is listed as the suspect. It says summary of suspect statements. It says suspect.
I can read. Okay, before I comment on this police report, because there are some interesting things in this police report, sir, I'd like to hear your version of the events.
Your Honor, I have a couple more documents here.
What?
They're very important. One is his signed statement, his restraining orders. We both went for restraining orders. He admits to pushing me, causing me to fall.
No, it doesn't say that here, madam.
It says here I pushed her and she fell.
No.
Yes, it does. I underlined it in red.
Listen to me. It's not what it says. It says, whereupon I pushed her out the door, period. She then fell. You said I pushed her out the door, causing her to fall. That's not what it says, and that's not what it says in the police report.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She brought a half-drunk bottle of vodka mixed with Bloody Mary.
No, it was not half drunk. It
Listen
was
to
half
me.
empty.
Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying?
He's lying.
Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying?
He's lying.
You ready to have this case dismissed?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Susan Conant wants her former boyfriend, Gerhard Randall, to pay her medical expenses after he assaulted her at his home. Gerhard says she was drinking and that she fell after he put her out.
Ms. Conant, what else do you want to show me?
This is a letter that after we got restraining orders, we made up. We decided we still wanted to see each other. He left flowers on my doorstep. He asked me for forgiveness. He promised to pay for my damage.
Let me see.
This is a letter that I wrote because I still wanted to see him.
Not the letter you wrote to him.
Well, but see, that's going to be what he brings up as his defense.
Why don't you wait and let me see what his defense is?
Thank you.
Oh, now be quiet. Go.
Thank you, Your Honor. In the evening of October 27th, she did come over.
Had she called first?
No. I
Go
had
ahead.
no idea she was coming over. I had no premonition even that she would be coming over.
So she didn't call first.
She did not call.
Let's keep it going. I have
Yeah.
other things to do today.
She came over. I did tell her that she should wait outside because I was busy. She brought a half-drunk bottle of vodka mixed with Bloody Mary.
No, it was not half drunk. It
Listen
was
to
half
me.
empty.
Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying?
He's lying.
Did you hear how quiet he was when you were testifying?
He's lying.
You ready to have this case dismissed?
No, Your Honor.
Good. Go ahead. She's not going to interrupt you again.
After 2 hours and 45 minutes of going around and around with this, I'd had it. I'd had enough. I said, you must leave. At that point, I did take her and shove her out the door and lock the door behind me. There is about 10 feet of a walkway, and then there is a parking barrier, one of these concrete parking barriers. She stumbled over that, and she fell, and I saw her laying in a fetal position, sobbing. I couldn't see her like that, so I went out to see what was wrong, and that's when I noticed she had been bleeding. When the police came and they saw where the blood was, it was a good 15 or 20 feet from the door.
Who is this person?
This gentleman here is Officer Pham of the Pasadena Police Department, who responded to the call that evening.
Okay. Step up, sir. Would you tell me what you observed when you arrived?
When I got there, the doors open, I walked in, and I saw the plaintiff inside. She was cut up, was bleeding. I proceeded to ask her what happened. At first, she told me that he had beat her up, kicked her, and this all happened in a back room where he's supposed to be living. I went back there to check for any blood, any sign of a struggle. There wasn't any. Later on.
Are you positive she told you that he had beat her up in the house?
Yes, that's correct.
But you checked for evidence of that, and you found nothing.
The way she was bleeding, there would have been sign of blood drop, stain, hands on the wall, as if there was a struggle, which there wasn't any.
So what did you do next, sir?
Then I went outside, and sure enough, there was blood stain on the walkway, just right outside the door and on the concrete area.
Which concrete area, sir?
Just right outside the door, ma'am.
Where was the farthest point of blood that you saw from the door?
I would guesstimate around 15 feet, ma'am.
Did you see a lot of blood there?
Just a drop here and there.
You interviewed the plaintiff, and initially, according to your report, she told you that the incident occurred inside. You subsequently ascertained that it occurred outside.
That's correct.
Initially, she told you that he beat her up.
That's correct, ma'am.
Did she ever change that story?
Yes, she did.
When?
After I interviewed I got his side of the story. Then I asked her, I present his side of the story to her. Then she recanted, and she told me, yeah, that did happen like that.
The report says when I asked Conant, that's the plaintiff, if she had had anything to drink, she denied having alcoholic beverages. Later, she admitted that she did have 2 drinks. Did you write that?
Yes, ma'am.
So at first, she denied having anything to drink.
Yes, ma'am. But it was obvious the smell. Her eyes blood and watery. Just her appearance. I can just smell that from her person.
Is there any other witness to this incident?
My daughter is an after witness. I brought her here. If you would like to hear from her, that she's
Certainly.
prepared to.
Step up.
This is my daughter, Maria.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
You were home when your mother arrived home that evening?
Yeah, I was sleeping.
And what happened when she arrived home at about midnight?
Her knees were bleeding. It looked like somebody had beat her up. It didn't look like somebody had
Her knees were bleeding like she had fallen.
Yeah, but she had bruises all over her arms, so you don't get bruises by falling. You know, like somebody grabbed her.
Is there anything else you want to tell me?
Just that I don't believe that she was drunk because she didn't seem drunk to me. She just seemed really stressed out.
Did you smell alcohol on her breath?
No, I didn't.
You didn't. Sit down. Let me hear about the counterclaim.
Okay. She went to my desk and stole my little black telephone book.
How do you know that?
She admitted to it.
Admitted to whom?
To me. The way I found out is I got a phone call from ladies that I have never met, and I've just been talking over the phone or emailing or whatever, and they said some strange woman had called them, asking them if I'd been intimate with them.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't see why everyone is laughing. Because it was the only, when you are confronted with a man who will deceive and lie, the only way a woman can protect herself is by trying to act like a detective and find out the truth.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Susan Conant says she suffered cuts and bruises after her former boyfriend, Gerhard Randall, pushed her to the ground. He says she was drunk and she fell on her own.
So what did you do next, sir?
I confronted her. I said, I want my telephone book back. And she said, I don't have it anymore. I threw it away. And this went on for like a week or two. And
I gave it back to him the next day.
And people continued getting phone calls. My mother got a phone call from her, and she complained to my mother. Of course.
No. Am I allowed to say when he's telling something wrong?
Just a second. No, what you can tell me is why did you take his telephone book?
Because by that time I had discovered that he was emailing 42 women. He is addicted to email, and he has these email romances. And I said, Gerhard, you have to stop this if we're going to continue seeing each other. Then by the 2-month mark, which was around December, the end of the year, I went to see him, and he was very kissy-kissy, charming, sweet, and I said, oh, he's got something up his sleeve, I know it. So I went and I took the address book, I took it home, and the first thing I did was call a name of a woman that was in Wichita, Kansas. She admitted that he had called her on the phone and they had talked for 3 hours, and that he had sent her cookies, Christmas cookies, home-baked Christmas cookies. So I went back to him and I said, Gerhard, I'm through with you. This is it. I don't want to see you anymore. You're obviously very sick when you email, when I have romances with women on the email that you don't even know.
Why did you take his address book? Didn't you know that was stealing?
No, I returned it the next day.
Your Honor.
Your Honor, I don't see why everyone is laughing. Because it was the only, when you are confronted with a man who will deceive and lie, the only way a woman can protect herself is by trying to act like a detective and find out the truth.
Miss Conant, listen to me. Maybe that's true if you're married to somebody for 25 years. But if you're dating somebody for 8 months.
10
months. And you find out that he's, has mood swings, according to you, up and down. The first thing you do is you show him the door. If you feel in your heart that somebody who you've been dating for 10 months is cheating on you, even via the internet, you show him the door.
I thought I could change him. I thought I could help him. And he asked me to help him with this email.
Okay.
He asked me to help
I have some more evidence, Your
Go
Honor.
ahead.
I'd like to submit.
Go ahead.
This is a phone book that she returned to me. It's in her handwriting. She has taken all my entries, entered them in her own hand, and gave that back to me and said, here's your phone book.
Let me see.
This is what she gave back.
Let me see.
I never got back my original phone book, let alone get it back the next day. This came back weeks later.
No, it came back the next day.
Shh. Are you saying to me, sir, all these entries are in her handwriting?
Not all of them. I made a couple since, but you can recognize her
Well, just
handwriting.
point it out to me. I can't recognize it.
Okay.
I'm going to compare it to her complaint signature, but
All right.
I'd like you to point it out to me.
Well, he stole more than an address book from me. He stole my heart.
Just a second, Miss Conant. I'm going to ask you a question. Hey, listen.
Why are people laughing in here?
If there's any,
I don't understand this.
if there's any more noise from our gallery, you're going to leave. Do you
I
understand?
suffered a very great deal from this.
Ah.
I don't see what's so funny about it.
Ms. Conant, did you in fact alter in any way his address?
No, I didn't alter anything. I copied it word for word because his was falling apart.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
I'm going to address your complaint and I'm going to address your counterclaim. I am satisfied after hearing the evidence in this case that the incident that occurred inside of the house occurred as indicated by the defendant, that while he did in fact push you out of his home, and I believe that he did that, that push did not cause you to fall, that your initial fall was 15 feet away from the house, and that you fell because you were intoxicated. The only independent witness, the police officer, has indicated that when he responded to the scene, you gave him one version of the events, then you changed the story and you gave him a second version of the events consistent with the story that the defendant tells. The defendant could, in fact, after a 2 or 2.5 hour period, tell you to leave. When you refused to leave, you became, in effect, a trespasser. He had the right, therefore, to put you out of the house. He did not have the right to assault you, which I do not believe he did. I believe that you fell, and I believe that you fell because you had probably had a little too much to drink and were very upset. Your complaint is dismissed. As far as your cross-complaint is concerned, sir, you are suing for a relatively small amount of money. I would assume that you want a token to say, don't ever do this again. Small amount of money is not going to make any difference. I would assume, however, that you are smart enough to know that all ties, including any financial ones, should be totally broken, and that if you have any further difficulty with the plaintiff, that your response has to be an immediate call to the police. Do you understand?
Yes, I do, Your
That's
Honor.
all. Thank you.
Why does that excuse you?
I don't
Step
believe
out.
this.
I'll back over to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy. The film producer says she was taken for a ride by the female impersonator.
When you met her, were you outfitted as a man or a woman?
I was outfitted as a man.
Judge Judy Justice.
I'm too naive, I guess. I have to be more careful in watching who I associate with because he's not what he appears to be.
Well, I think Judge Scheindlin saw through the charade and the act that the plaintiff was putting on.
Leporati versus Chattel. Step forward, please.
24-year-old Jennifer Leporati says when she split from 28-year-old Sean Chattel, he kept the camcorder and still owes her for a loan.
Order, all rise. All rise, please. Your Honor, this is number 174 on the calendar in the matter of Leporati versus Chattel. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
This used to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
You lived together for a while in his parents' home. Is that right?
No, I always resided at my father's house, but I did spend time at his mother's.
Did you ever sleep there?
Yes.
More than once a week?
Yes.
All right. According to your complaint, he owes you $350. $250 that you gave him to pay back some money for his daughter's school,
His son,
daycare,
yes.
or his son's school. How old is this child?
4.5.
Were you married to his mother?
Yes, I was for 4 years.
And when were you divorced?
About 3.5 years ago.
So how old is the child?
4.5. He was 1.
He was 1 when you
Yes.
separated. And in addition to the $250 that you lent him for the child's daycare, you had purchased a camcorder together for $200. When you split up, he kept the camcorder.
Correct.
Your defense to this action, sir, is?
I have the camcorder, yes.
Okay. You have the camcorder and you
I've
paid?
always had possession of it, yes.
And she paid?
We went in on it together as like everything that we do together. We just we buy something, we owned it, and it just surprised me that she asked for the $100 back. So
Because he decided since he broke up, it was his house, it became his possession, no longer mine.
Okay, so let's take care of this $100 camcorder first. You weren't married?
No.
So you each put in half of the camcorder?
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
It was $200. You kept the camcorder?
Yep.
Is that fair?
I think it's fair.
Tell me why.
Because, for one, it was my idea to buy it. It was my partner that I bought it from, and she's, never even used it, and it needed work, so I had to pay for the work to be done on it.
When did it need work?
We didn't even use it, but maybe a couple of weeks, and then I needed to buy a new battery for it. The charger went bad, so, it wasn't even working. I paid for all that.
But he's forgetting to let you know that when we bought the camcorder, I put up the $200 up front, and then he paid me back the $100 for it.
Just a second. You say here in your answer to her complaint that the friend that you bought this camera from was a really good friend, and he was selling you this great camcorder for a rock-bottom price.
Correct.
Well, so why don't you think that you owe her half, which is the $100 that she put in? Otherwise, it seems very inequitable to me, sir, that you got the camera and she's got nothing.
Okay, I guess I look at it like if we were to have we have other possessions together. Say she bought me a skateboard. Am I supposed to give her half the skateboard money back because she bought it for a gift?
This is not a gift, sir. I mean, don't you
Everything
understand the
we
difference?
bought together was ours.
This is not a gift. There's a difference between a gift and something you went into together. She put up the $200. You gave her $100 back. That means you bought this as a joint item. Assuming that you were married, it would be considered community property.
Correct.
Court would order it to be sold. You'd get 100. You'd get 100, or one of you would get the camera, and the other one would have to pay the other for half of its value. Do you understand?
Yes.
There's a difference between that and buying you a skateboard, sir, because you can only fit one behind on a skateboard, the last I looked. Right?
Sure.
All right, so $100, Ms. Laporte, you have. Now, what about this $250?
Well, when we were going out, I used to front Sean money for various bills, like his son's daycare, etc. Or something
Why did you
he
do
needed to
that?
pay. Because I loved him, and he always was responsible and always paid me back on time. I never had a problem with it until the end. And a couple weeks before we broke up, I lent him $250. Some of it was for daycare, and then others was to get him by until his checks came in from his clients. So I gave him the money, and then that following week we broke up, and he didn't pay me back on a couple of occasions. We met, we talked. He said that he would meet me to pay me back, and he never did. One time he told me he'd meet me at a restaurant. I waited for him for an hour. He never showed up. I called him the next day. He said he didn't feel he had to chase me around town to pay me back the money.
Does any of that sound familiar to you?
No. I mean, absolutely not.
Your Honor, I have...
There, it just
No,
really...
don't look at your feet. Look at my eyes.
Okay.
Does any of what she said about making appointments to meet her, to pay her
One time,
back...
yes.
Shh. Let me finish. Meeting her to pay her back the money. None of that sounds familiar to you?
Meet her to talk about the issue that she thinks that I owe her the money when I paid her back. That's what we were supposed to meet for. I felt it was irrelevant to even meet with her, so I didn't. And she didn't have a pager or a phone, so I couldn't call her, so I didn't show up.
I had a cellular phone on me that day.
Just a second.
Okay.
Let me understand something. Are you telling me, sir, that you behaved in an unchivalrous manner by making an appointment to meet her to discuss something and then decided that you didn't feel as if you had anything to discuss and then you didn't show up?
Said, yes.
And then you didn't show up?
I
Is that
couldn't
right?
get a
Is that
hold
what
of
you're
her.
telling me?
Yes, I did.
Good. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff. $350. Thank you very much.
Pardon our excuse. You may step out. Out the back door to your right.
I'm happy he got what he deserves. He gets away with everything, and I didn't want him to get away with it.
I don't get away with... What are you talking about? Explain yourself.
Mommy bills you out of
Oh,
this. Grandma
give me a
bills you
break.
out of this.
Give me a
Okay.
break.
You know it's true. I know it's true.
And now the next case.
Parties on Ambrose versus Moronian. Step forward, please.
27-year-old actress Melinda Joyce Ambrose says hairdresser Anita Moronian made her hair turn green. Anita says somebody else botched the job.
Miss Ambrose, you are dissatisfied with the defendant's services that she performed for you as a hairdresser.
Yes.
And not only, according to your complaint, you want to be compensated by having her return the money that was paid, but you also want her to pay for, let's see, $600 for what it cost you to repair your hair, another $1,000 or so for you to take new headshots because you're an actress.
Yes.
This better be good. Go.
Okay. I have a picture of what my hair... I've been growing out my hair for 2 years. I went to expensive salons to have them take care of my hair. Anita is a relatively expensive... She works at a relatively expensive salon. I had been seeing her for at least 7 months. I have a picture of what my hair looked like before she went and permed it. It's bleached hair. And I had put some temporary color in my hair.
Just a second. Let's stop. You sort of glossed over that. So you put some color in your hair.
Yes.
And then when did you call her after you had put the color in your hair?
The morning after, and I told them what I told her boss, and then I told her
You
exactly
spoke to her.
what I put in my hair.
Yes.
Yes.
And she said what?
That it was still safe to perm it and color correct it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You want to tell me how horrible your wife looked?
Her hair after coming back from the salon was very bad. It was very frizzy. It was very damaged. It was orange and green.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melinda Joyce Ambrose says hairdresser Anita Moronian cut her hair too short, permed it, and turned it green. Anita says she warned her not to color her hair.
Just a second. Color corrected, which means you put something in your hair.
That was too dark. It was darker than I liked it.
So then you made an appointment, and when did you go in?
It was that morning.
And what happened when you got there that morning?
I checked with her again and again and again, and I said, I used Clairol. It's a version number 1. This is in my hair now. She obviously saw the color difference because she had been my sole hairdresser for 7 months. I said, are you sure it's safe to perm on this hair?
Miss Ambrose, why did you take it upon yourself to do a home hair color on yourself if you had been going to very expensive salons for months and months?
My hair turned out darker than I wanted it to, and so I thought it wouldn't be a problem for her to put basic rinse through my hair to...
In a second.
Okay. A basic rinse through to soften the color and to perm it. It's a non-ammonia, non-peroxide solution, and I told her exactly what it was, and I asked if it could be done. I was very clear about that. I mean, I asked her over and over so much that I felt paranoid, and she assured me that it was fine. She assured me that it was fine to do a color and a perm that day.
Okay, so what did you do?
I went in, got the perm done. It turned out stringy and strawy and awful. Most of the color washed out. Some of it basically baked in would be the right words. It stuck and wouldn't come out, and that turned kind of orange. There were parts that turned green. After Anita saw that, Anita looked at my hair. She told me not to see anyone for 2 days.
because it was really damaged. She couldn't color my hair that day because it was too damaged, even though she had agreed to at the beginning of that service. And basically let me go. She said not to touch it for 2 days and then to use a semi-permanent color, which is exactly what I did.
Just a second. She told you to do another self-help?
No, she said she wanted to put the semi-permanent color in.
Okay, so she told you to leave with the perm that you said was not good and not do anything for 2 days, and then you should come back to the salon for whatever corrective measures with regard to color she would do.
Yes.
And then what did you do?
And I left out a detail, is that she cut off most of the green and the orange, making my hair basically a couple inches shorter than it is right now.
Well, you wouldn't want green and orange in your hair. So then she told you to come back in 2 days. What did you do?
In 2 days, I went to someone else who was not her, because I would never go back to somebody who did that to my hair again.
Miss Ambrose, you're talking as if this lady did what she did to you on purpose. You don't believe that she did this to you on purpose.
She told me,
hey,
Your Honor.
You don't believe she did this to you on purpose.
Not on purpose, out of seeking money and out of negligence, yes.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
First of all, she's calling, I mean, I'm not a better actress than she is. She's acting, but I don't know how to act. So she called the salon around 2 o'clock in the morning, left a message. I mean, this is not a normal hours.
2 o'clock in the morning? This is before you worked on her?
She brought me in my day
Listen
off
to me.
do
Listen
her
to me.
hair.
Stop talking. Listen to me.
Right.
Well, I want to know about when you started to do work on her.
Not
with this perm.
She called that morning. It's my day off. She begged them to call me and have me to go and do her hair. In my day off, I went to do her hair. Tried to do a favor to her, and she's telling me negligently
Just
I
a
burned her
second.
hair.
What happened when you got to the salon?
She came in the salon. I came in my day off. I did her hair, what I had to do.
What did you do?
I permed her hair.
What kind of a discussion did you have before you permed her hair?
I mentioned to her, I said, every time you have a chemical process, anything happens, your ends might little damage. And it's very possible with the perms. It's always possible.
Did you tell her that?
Yes, I did.
She just said ends might have a little damage. That's like not 3 inches.
Your Honor, can I continue?
Yes, continue.
So I did her perm, but when she came, she had already green hair on her hair. Every time you have a perm, your hair shrinks because it's curly.
Of course, that's, you don't have to be a physicist to figure that out.
I didn't chop her, I didn't shorten it 3 inches. It's already, when you perm the hair, it's by himself, it shrinks.
So when you cut off the ends?
I cut off the ends.
And you told her to come back?
And I told her, I said, I cannot color your hair because she wanted me to color it. I said, come back in 2 days because a perm needs to oxidize the neutralizer has to oxidize on the hair too, between 24 to 36 hours. So I told her when she come back, I can put semi-permanent color. Since that day, I never seen her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I knew from the first day I met you, you are a weirdo. There's something wrong about you.
Thank you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Actress Melinda Joyce Ambrose says that she could not go on auditions after hairdresser Anita Moranyan ruined her hair. Anita says she's not the one who ruined it.
In order for me to say to you, I'm comfortable with any of your allegations, you had been using this lady for 7 months. You put your own process on your hair, which you know if you're a smart lady and you rely on your looks to make a living, that you shouldn't have done. Clearly, because you didn't like the result of what you did, you called her. She came into work on her day off to do your hair, to perm it, right?
Apparently, yes.
Apparently, yes. So I assume that when you called, you were hysterical, that your hair was too dark, and that somebody could please come in and do your hair.
I doubt I was hysterical.
My problem is, you'd been using this lady for color.
Yes.
You started a process that you hadn't used before. You were going to get a perm. A perm was going to change your appearance because it was going to make your hair curly instead of glorious and straight.
Yes.
All right, so that you were going to do anyway, which would have required, if I read your complaint correctly, additional headshots, because then if you had curly hair, it's different from straight hair. It's also shorter hair.
That's why I only asked for 2, because in the year that it's going to take me to grow my hair out back to there,
I'm assuming one headshot session would have had to have happened anyways. But I lost all the headshots that I had. I can't use them now. I can't ever use them again. And I'm going to have more than that done
So
in
then
this
you
next
learn,
year.
you learn two things. A, you should let a professional colorist do your hair if you rely on something. B, if you decide to have 3 processes on your hair, you risk your hair turning orange and green.
Your Honor, can I ask you to please understand
Sure.
one thing?
Sure.
And also, I'd like you to hear from my husband, if that would be possible.
What does he want to tell me?
How horrible it looked right after she did it, because he saw it.
Oh, sure, I'll hear you. I'll hear you. Step up, sir. Your name?
Nick Ambrose.
You want to tell me how horrible your wife looked?
Her hair after coming back from the salon was very bad. It was very frizzy. It was very damaged. It was orange and green. And I know how careful she is about her hair, and how she was very, very, very insistent that she told what was on the box of the actual label of the box of the dye she put on the day before, so that the person who was doing it would know exactly what was there and would be able to judge whether they could do a safe process or not.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a software engineer.
Let me ask you this question, sir. If somebody has a computer and they take their computer and they try, and doesn't seem to be working right, and they have a guarantee that goes with the computer, and they decide, well, they think that they could fix this computer, so they take a toothbrush and a toilet plunger. Say, I can fix this computer. I'm going to stick in the toilet plunger. I'm going to roto-root this computer, right? And then the computer doesn't work, and they bring it to you, and they say, hey, I got a guarantee here. The computer doesn't work. And you say, listen, there's an intervening thing here. There's an intervening thing here. You took this toothbrush, you took this toilet plunger, you try to fix the computer yourself. I don't understand why a woman who has been going to what she says to me is an expensive salon for 7 months, one night gets a bee in her bonnet that she wants to change her hair color, goes down to a drugstore and buys a box of something for $2.98 and puts it in her hair, or for $4.95 and puts it in her hair. And then she's so hysterical because of the way she looks that she can't even wait for this lady to come in on her regular day. She's got to come in the very next day and not say to her, listen, could you just fix the color for me, throw a rinse in, I just want to get it back, but comes in and says, I want my hair permed.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You had here a dissatisfied customer.
Right.
Your dissatisfied customer paid you $125 for a process that she was dissatisfied with. Let me tell you what good business is. Good business is saying to a dissatisfied customer, listen, I'm sorry that you were dissatisfied. You've been my customer for 7 months. You've paid me for 7 months. You're dissatisfied. I don't think I did anything wrong, but you're dissatisfied with the service. I don't want you to be dissatisfied. I'm going to give you back your $125. That's what she originally called for, correct? You said you called because you wanted your money back.
Yeah.
And
she wanted more.
Hey! Some people are so stupid, they just don't understand.
Just
you said you wanted your money back.
Yes.
And if they had given you your money back, this matter would have been closed.
If it had happened right away, yes.
Good. Now it's right away.
It's not right away.
It's right away to me, madam. I'm giving you your money back, $125. It's more than I think that you deserve. I think that you contributed in part to having your hair damaged. You can't do one process, another process, a perm, and then a color to your hair and expect your hair your hair to be as pristine as it is in this picture.
Your Honor, didn't she have a responsibility to tell me that before she did the process?
I believe that she told you that you were going to have damage to your hair. The fact that you didn't want to hear it is your problem. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $125, period. End of case.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I was working just fine. I had an agent, and they all thought my hair was fine. Anita didn't make me beautiful, and Anita did do nice corrective color, and that was great, and that's why I trusted
What's
her
that
with the
mean?
perms. It means you made my hair what I
sure.
wanted.
Thank you very much. That's what I wanted to hear it. That's all what I wanted to hear.
That's what it was in my
And I knew from the first day I met you, you are a weirdo. There's something wrong about you.
Thank you. Well, I'm really glad I referred people to your salon.
All parties on Steins versus Chacon. Step forward, please.
18-year-old customer service rep Marlena Steins wants the father of her child, 20-year-old woodcutter Arturo Chacon, to pay their daughter's child support.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 92 on the calendar in the matter of Steins versus Chacon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Steins, how old are you?
18.
And you have a 3.5-year-old daughter?
Yes, I do.
He's the father.
Yes.
According to you, he signed a document indicating that he was supposed to pay $192.52 each month for child support.
Yes.
And since your child was born, he has not paid the child support.
Right.
And you acknowledge that you haven't paid the child support.
Yes, but we have lived together, and I have, bought stuff for my daughter and taken care of her, but I guess
How long
she's
did you
not-
live together?
We lived together off and on for about 2 years, I would say.
After she was born?
Yeah.
Who supports this child?
I do. Your Honor, all the times that we were living together, he was not working. He worked off and on, but I would say that he worked maybe 20% of the time. So it was really me supporting him and Chantel.
Well, the child was born when you were...
14.
14. You were working when you were 14?
Yes, I was.
You weren't going to school?
I went to school and I worked all 4 years.
Are you telling me
It's
that...
not true either.
Shh. Are you telling me that the state never contributed to the child support?
Welfare?
Yes.
No. I've gotten food stamps. The state has paid for like my child care, Medicare, or Medicaid, things like that, but I've never gotten welfare.
So you don't get a monthly check from welfare, but you get food stamps from the state?
Well, I don't now, but I have in the past.
You have in the past, and they paid for?
Her to go to daycare.
Were you living at home when you were 14?
Yes.
Were you living at home when you were 15?
No.
Where were you living, with him?
Yes. Well, for a little bit of the times. When we lived together, we would live together for maybe like some months at a time, and then not live together, and then live together again, not live together, like that.
So for a period of 2 years, it was on again, off again, living with each other.
Right.
Were you working?
Off and on.
How were you supporting yourself?
We lived with my parents.
During what period of time did you live with your parents?
The whole time we were together, pretty much. Or,
We also lived with my
we lived
mom.
with her parents.
So you lived with both your parents, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Try yes. This is your only child?
Yes. However, he has 2 other children.
Well, that was my next question. How old are you?
20, and I only have 1 other child.
He has 1 in question, Your Honor.
That's not true.
Just a shh. Hey. How much money did you make last year?
Last year, I don't know. Not sure.
Give me an approximation.
I'd say 2-3 grand, I'd say.
And how old is this other child that you have?
5 months.
And how old is that child's mother?
18, 19.
Where do you think you come off making $3,000 a year and making 2 babies? You think that it's adult? You think that it's grown up?
No, $3,000 is just probably what I made last year.
And what about the year before?
I really couldn't say.
He doesn't do taxes.
He doesn't do protection either.
That's true.
Shh. Now, what about this child in question that he has? What do you know about that?
Well, there was this, a girl that told me that she had his baby, and when I asked him about it, he said that wasn't true, that wasn't his baby.
Are you going to court for that baby?
I don't know what she's talking about.
Oh, okay. So you're not sure? You had the conversation with her about...
No, I didn't.
So that never happened?
No.
Okay. How much support are you giving for this other baby that you do have?
Well, I've been taking care of that baby.
How?
Buying diapers, expenses, and just being a father to that baby. which I would like to do to my other daughter.
Your Honor, when we were living together, we were living together in February of this year, and I gave him the money to support the other baby. I bought the baby formula. I bought the baby diapers.
That makes you pretty foolish.
By choice.
Just a second.
Your Honor, at this time I thought that Andrew had grown up. I thought that we were...
How could you think? Listen to me. You look like a lovely young woman.
Thank you.
How can you think that he's grown up when in the interim, when you weren't together, for a brief moment, he goes out and makes another baby? I mean, one mistake. Having your daughter at age 14 was clearly a mistake. You understand that.
I understand that.
And the fact that you try to be responsible, what kind of work do you do?
I do appointment setting.
What is that?
Like, I set appointments for people who want siding on their house and things like that.
So you work for a siding company?
Yes. I work for Midwest Wholesale.
And how long have you been working for them?
I just started. I got laid off from my previous job, which I was on for a year.
Just quit.
You living at home with your parents?
No, I have my own apartment.
And you pay the rent?
Yes, I do.
How much do you earn?
A month, I earn $1,700 gross.
So, looks like you've chosen a hard path, but you're doing it.
I just really want what's best for my daughter. I realize that I had her young, and I know that that puts her at a disadvantage, which makes it more especially important for me to give her what she needs emotionally and financially. And I need his help financially. I'm not doing it.
Well, if it was up to me, I'd take her away from you. Why don't you tell her about how you tried to light her pillowcase on fire?
Look at me.
She was mad. She has different personalities. She was angry at me one time. She went in there and she lit the pillowcase on fire, and she goes back into the front room and says, "Your daughter's on fire." So I went in there, I thought she was joking. I went in there and my daughter's laying on the other side of the bed. On this side of the bed, the pillowcase is on fire. I took out that pillowcase and put it out. I picked up my daughter, and I went to call the cops, but I didn't want them to take my daughter away. I just didn't know what to do.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You lost your license because you didn't pay child support, right?
Yeah. Financial Responsibility Act.
Sounds good to me. You can make them, you gotta support them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Arturo Chacon claims the mother of his child, Marlena Stein, set their baby's bed on fire.
When did this happen, sir?
This happened, I'd say, about after a month that we had lived together in this apartment that she still lives in.
How old was your daughter at this time?
3.
So it happened recently?
Yeah.
Want to tell me about that?
It didn't happen, Your Honor. That's something that he told later. What happened was we were breaking up, and he took my daughter. The very last time that he's ever seen my daughter, he took her and he hid her at his aunt's house and told me that I was never going to get her back. I have full custody papers, so he can't do that. So I called the police. The police came and took the baby away from his aunt to give back to me because I have full custody. And of course, the police asked the people why they would want to keep my baby away from me, and then they started, saying all this stuff that I'd never even heard of. So it didn't happen. And you would think that if he was truly concerned because I know that he was trying to start her on fire, I would have called the police. There's no ifs, ands, and what's about it,
After this incident, sir, did you go into court and seek an order of custody?
No, I didn't.
Well, you didn't. Why didn't you?
Because Chantel loves her mom, and I've been in and out of her life all her life.
Well, according to you, she wouldn't have had much of a life. Her life would have been cut short, so it would seem to me that if this incident happened, a responsible, normal, caring parent would have beaten a path to the local family court and said, "Somebody help me, I need custody of my daughter because she's living with a maniac." You didn't do that.
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. Do you have any excuse as to why you didn't pay this child support that you were supposed to pay?
No, I don't. I'm not going to make something up, so I don't.
Well, what do you intend to do to pay it?
Well, I got a job now, and they've been garnishing my checks, so I've been paying back the welfare that she got.
What do you mean
So
the
I've been
welfare that
paying-
she got?
Well, she did receive welfare checks for like, I don't know, maybe 6 months at my house.
Did you ever receive welfare checks for 6 months?
Actually, I did. I'm sorry, I did receive. I was for 1 month, and that's what he's paying back. I have the.
It was, I owe welfare $1,900, and I don't think they'd give her $1,900 in 1 month.
Actually, no, it's not. He doesn't owe. It's $2,900, and he doesn't owe welfare $2,900. He owes child support enforcement $2,900. I have the check that I recently got from him, and it's for $35, Your Honor, and I got it 2 days ago.
Well, but I don't know what portion, madam, of this money is owed to welfare. So you did receive welfare for a period of time.
I received it for 2 months. Yes,
Well, first you told me 1 month. Now you told me 2 months. He said it's 6 months.
Well, when you originally asked me whether or not I received welfare, I said no because I forgot about it. And then when he brought it up, I remembered that I did.
Now, have you ever been to court to be legally declared the father of this child?
Yes, I have. In
I have the
Lakewood.
paperwork.
Does that order provide for an order of visitation?
On the weekends.
It does say that you have visitation on weekends.
Yes, it does.
From when to when?
From Friday to Sunday, I think it was.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you have those papers?
I do.
May I see them, please?
It'll take me a minute to look through these to find that order.
I want the order of support, and he says that there's an order of visitation.
Here it is. This is the parent. This is the paper that says that he will have parenting time from 7 p.m. to 12 p.m. on Sunday.
Okay, this provides for you to have parenting time, or what we call back east visitation, every other weekend from Friday evening at 7 o'clock until noon on Sunday. Were you visiting the child every other weekend?
Only when she would let me.
Well, how did that come about that you were denied visitation, sir?
Well, any little thing that I would say, if it made her mad or upset, or if I said if I was going to take her, like just even last weekend, I said I was going to take her. Only I was visiting my other daughter also, and I was taking my daughter over to her house too, so I could visit them both, and she didn't like that. And it was all because I don't have a license to drive.
It's been revoked.
Just a minute. You lost your license because you didn't pay child support, right?
Yeah. Financial Responsibility Act.
That sounds good to me. You can make them, you got to support them. Are you telling me, sir, that since you separated, since you were no longer living in her mother's house or your mother's house, that you have been vigilant about coming to try to get your visitation every other weekend? You didn't skip any weekends, you didn't forget to come, you didn't call up and say, I'm not coming. Is that what you're telling me? That every other weekend at 7 o'clock, you were there to pick up your daughter?
No, I wasn't.
Why not?
Because after a while, I got tired of being out of her life. The only one I'm hurting is her. I guess I'm better out of her life than in and out of her life. I'd rather have me hurt than her hurt.
You better get some good counseling.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
That was my plan, to go to school and work.
What do you mean, was your plan?
Well, is my plan.
You have to have more than a plan, sir. If you make babies, you need action, not a plan.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marlena Steins wants child care costs from the father of her child, Arturo Chacon.
You have this order of visitation, and the reason that you don't exercise it is because you're not there all the time for her. So instead of seeing her regularly every other weekend, you've decided not to see her at all. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, then. But now
Then.
I'd like to see her.
Then.
Be in her life forever.
All right, so that was then. So then she didn't
life
prevent
back
you from
together.
seeing her. Then you just decided, if I can't be with her all the time, I'm not going to be with her at all because she'll forget about me. Now you want to go back into her life, right? Because now you realize that it was a mistake that you didn't see her. Is that what you're telling me?
And stay in her life.
by seeing her every other weekend.
Yes.
So that what Ms. Stein says is accurate in her answer. That you were, sometimes you came, sometimes you didn't, sometimes she waited for you, the little girl, sometimes you didn't show up. That sounds right to you.
No, it isn't right.
But that sounds accurate to you. Maybe right isn't the word, it wasn't right, but that sounds accurate to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't plan on having any more children with him, do you?
No, I don't plan on having any more children, at least for the next 10 years.
Good, you'll probably burn him.
Let me just explain this to you, Your Honor. The last time that he tried to pick her up, the reason that I actually did not let him is not only that he doesn't have a driver's license, but also that he has outstanding warrants in Colorado, 2 of them. And if he gets picked up, if he gets pulled over with no driver's license and warrants, he goes to jail, and my daughter goes to social services. And he held it, he kept it back from me that he was going to be driving with her. So as soon as I found out that he was going to be driving with her, I drove right there and picked her up.
It's very hard for me to figure out exactly how much money he owes you. Because you're living at his mother's house, you're living at your mother's house, and what the order provided for, which was very early on, contemplated you living in your own residence, him living someplace else, and him contributing $192.50.
Right, and that was from a minimum wage job, and at that time I think minimum wage was like $4.75 or something like that.
Let me explain something to you. I don't think he's ever going to get beyond that. Right, not with his attitude.
All right.
But how long has it been now that you have been living in your own apartment?
Without him?
Without him?
February.
Since February?
Since February.
February, March, April, and May. So 4 months. And prior to that, he was living there?
Yes, he was. He lived there from November to February.
And prior to that, you were living at his mother's house or your mother's house?
Prior to that, we were living apart. Prior to that, I was living at my mom's house, and he was living with his parents.
So for the 4 months that you've been living alone in the apartment without him, he owes you about $770. Right?
I also have copies of medical bills and things like that that I've paid for that I think that he should pay half of.
You better start with the $770.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
You have to start making regular support payments, sir. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Anybody can make a baby. You don't have to be a genius to make a baby. Dogs make babies. Cats make babies. Fish make babies. Do you understand? And most creatures take care of their babies, at least until their babies are old enough to take care of themselves. And they don't want to hear about my mother or my father going to school. Want to go to school? That's terrific. You make a couple of babies and you want to go to school. You go to school at night, you work during the day. Or you switch it around and you get 4 hours sleep and you work your butt off so that you can support the babies that you make.
Yeah, that was my plan, to go to school and work.
What do you mean, was your plan?
Well, is my plan.
You have to have more than a plan, sir. If you make babies, you need action, not a plan.
Well, it's in action, I guess I should say.
Ms. Steins, you sound like, at least at this point in your life, you have it all together. And you're trying to do the right thing. I hope you'll do the right thing. I don't have a real good feeling. Do you understand?
I understand.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $770. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, Judge Judy tries to ease the pain in a classic marital tragedy.
You're supposed to love your children more than you hate each other.
Real people. Judge Judy.
Well, the judge was fair. She's honest.
I don't think I'll ever see this $700. Pretty sure that he's going to have lost his job by next week or at least by next month. I guess I can only pray for the money to be paid to me. I want her to have a good dad. I'll never keep her from him. Don't get pregnant, you girls.
Villapando. Step forward, please.
Nadine Munoz is suing her former fiancé, Andy Villapando, for the money she put toward her engagement ring because he cheated on her. Andy says since Nadine bought her own ring, he's not responsible.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 288 on the calendar in the matter of Munoz versus Villapando. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Well, this is a new twist on an engagement ring case. Miss Munoz, according to your complaint, you went shopping with this gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
You were becoming engaged, is that right?
Yes. Yes.
According to you, you picked out a ring that you liked.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have any money or any credit.
None whatsoever.
So you put your ring on your credit card.
Exactly.
First mistake.
Exactly. Exactly.
In addition to that, you say he charged some tires on a credit card, 4 tires on a credit card of yours without your permission. To make a long story short, you're here, so that means you're no longer engaged.
Exactly. We are no longer engaged. We're no longer in speaking terms whatsoever.
And so tell me what you want from him.
I want him to pay half of the engagement ring that he gave me, that we both went together to go get. I have the appraisal. I also have the appraisal on the ring.
I'm not interested in the appraisal.
Okay.
I'm interested in the bill of sale.
Okay.
Where is
it? I have the bill of sale.
Can I have it, please? Okay. 26/27/94.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how long did this love affair last after the ring was bought?
Not long.
How long?
Till May 31st.
Well, when was the ring purchased?
February 23rd.
So.
But I had no. I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I didn't walk out of the relationship. He did. He walked out.
I assume you weren't getting along?
It wasn't going anywhere, and so, but I tried to work it out. He didn't want to, so therefore he walked out.
Well, that's probably a good idea, right?
Yes, but he left me with the bill, and I thought that because of his promise that he made that he was going to pay for part of the ring, I expected that in return.
Now I'm going to ask you this question. Why didn't you take the ring back to the jeweler?
I did. They would not give me my money back. They asked for credit, and I said, okay, fine. I then called Mr. Villapando and asked him, look, I don't want you to be without anything, and I don't want to be without anything. Therefore, you get $1,500 worth of the ring, and I'll get $1,500 worth. And I did call him on that, because I no longer want the ring. I told Mr. Villapando
So why didn't you sell it?
I tried. You know how hard it is to sell a ring? I've tried for the months that went by. I've tried to sell that ring, and I can't.
Okay. Now, sir, you acknowledge, let's get rid of the tire question.
Okay.
Okay? Because I don't think that you deny that you signed her name and that you bought the tires, correct?
On the credit card for the tires, correct.
All right. And the tires were $330?
Correct.
Did you pay her back?
I paid her $315, so I owe her $15.
No,
Let me see.
My first payment was made cash, and I got 2 check duplicates. If you need to subpoena my bank records.
I don't subpoena anything, sir.
Okay.
I'm not your lawyer. I'm the judge.
Your Honor, on those checks that he gave me, that was part of the rent and the electric bills that he left me stuck with because he did not pay for anything. Everything is under my name in that apartment because Mr. Villapando, again, has no credit whatsoever. He claimed bankruptcy in the beginning of January.
Did you leave her with any bills when you left?
No, ma'am. I used to bring my checks, and she's the one that took care of the finance.
That's not true. That's not true. We did both of our finances together. We did both of them together. He couldn't write the check on the apartment because of the fact that it was not leased under his name.
Okay. Now, sir, do you have any payments that you made to her in June of '97?
The only payments I made to her, ma'am, are those 2 and the one cash payment I made before those 2.
All right, so now I understand this. Would you give this back?
Sure.
Tires. You owe her $330. Now, let's get to the ring. Tell me about the ring, because your story was an interesting one, sir.
Well, on the ring, we had an agreement, yes, that she was going to allow me to charge a ring so I can get her because of my credit pass from a divorce that pretty much ruined my credit. Anyways, I went out and I found a ring that I wanted to get her, and I took her to the store, and she pretty much made me feel about this little because the ring wasn't nice enough, big enough, and gaudy enough, and she specifically told me it had to be bigger than my ex-wife's. And I believe the ring was almost 2 carats as it was, and my ex-wife was only like 1 carat.
Your Honor.
So,
Sir, listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Very nice ring. It's not 2 carats.
Correct.
This is not 2 carats.
Correct.
Okay. So, go ahead. So
And
you took her to the store, and you had found a ring that you liked.
I found a ring. As a matter of fact, they were even having a big sale, so it was like a real good deal, everything. And she did not want it. It wasn't what she wanted and stuff like that. And to me, I felt like, you know, I'm buying it as a gift. You should appreciate what I'm getting you. And that's
So
how
what
it-
happened? So you're at the store, and
So
she
we're at
doesn't like
store.
the ring.
She didn't like it, and so we didn't get a ring that day. And she decided she wanted to get a ring that she would like.
But you went with her again to find a ring that she liked.
Correct.
Okay.
And when she finally discovered the ring that she wanted, she asked me what I thought of it, and I told her it's up to her. And that's where it went, and she bought it and signed for it.
But you also promised that you were going to pay for half of it, or actually pay for the gift because it was a gift coming from you, considering the fact that you wanted to get engaged, Andy. You did.
My agreement, I'm sorry.
Your agreement was what?
My agreement was that I was going to pay for the ring that I was going to get her, not something that she didn't approve of or like and wanted.
No, that doesn't make sense, my friend. That doesn't make sense, my friend. Now it makes sense to you. Now it's a good story. Now I can understand that you went and found a ring, a little too small, not exactly what you wanted. She said she'd like something else. You went shopping with her again because I assume at that point you were still in love and you were planning on getting married. And at that point, I assume you wanted her to be happy with the ring. That's why you went with her again. Doesn't look like anybody drags you any place where you don't want to go. And I assume that if the relationship had progressed and you married, that you would have made payments on this engagement ring that you gave her.
It probably would have came out of a joint checking account, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I can't pay a $3,000 ring on my income, and I know he probably couldn't do it either, but it was something that he promised to pay, and it was a gift from him.
And later today,
I lost my best friend. I stole 2 rings from her, knowing what I was doing, and I took him to a drug dealer to pay off the debt.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 27-year-old Nadine Munoz claims her former fiancé, 27-year-old Andy Villapando, cheated on her. So she's suing to recover the money she put toward her own engagement ring.
So what you have is a very interesting scenario, Miss Munoz. The ring should go back to him because it is an engagement ring.
Okay, I don't mind him having the ring as long as he pays the account.
Now, when you made this deal with him, was he supposed to pay for the whole ring?
He was supposed to, he made a verbal promise that he was going to pay for the whole ring. But when I brought him to court, I was being very noble by paying half.
Okay. Well, this was an engagement ring. Women don't pay for their own engagement rings unless they're crazy. She doesn't sound to me like she's crazy. And my sense is that at least at the time that she purchased this ring on her credit, it was something that you intended to pay for because it was an engagement ring. That's what happens. A man buys a woman an engagement ring. The fact that she didn't like the first ring, sir, that's not an excuse. That's just a good story that you made up, that you were willing to pay for the first one but not the second one, because that's pretty much what you're telling me. And if you weren't willing to pay for the second one, then you wouldn't have and shouldn't have gone shopping with her for a second one. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, this whole ring was $2,627.94. And, sir, I don't think you paid her for the tires at all. So, Mr. Munoz, you just bought yourself a beautiful engagement ring and 4 new tires for the total price of $2,957.94. Judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll be back until you're ready.
I wanted friendship afterwards, and I stated it strongly with him that I wanted friendship, but I didn't want to be lied to like he lied to me.
I'm sorry this all happened.
No problem.
And now the next case.
Party's on. Golda versus Greer. Step forward, please.
37-year-old Laura Golder is suing her best friend of 15 years, 31-year-old Liza Greer, claiming she stole 2 rings to pay off a drug dealer.
Miss Greer, I'm going to start with you. Because, quite frankly, I don't think that the facts in this case are really in dispute. You two ladies were friends for a very long time.
15 years.
And, Miss Greer, you acknowledge that there was a period of time when you had a severe drug problem, correct?
Yes, and alcohol.
And you were indebted to a drug dealer for some money.
Correct.
How much money did you owe him?
Well, at the time I owed him about $375, give or take a few.
And you were pretty strung out.
Yes.
She was your dear friend.
Yes.
So you stole 2 rings from her.
Yes, I did.
And you gave one of the rings to the dealer.
Actually, I gave both of the rings to the dealer for collateral, and I was hoping to get him money because he was threatening my life, and he was a very dangerous man, and I was very frightened. And I was sober at the time, but that evening I relapsed from the stress, and I drank. And when I went over to my girlfriend's house where she was, we were together and consoling me, that evening I did something completely out of the ordinary, something I'm very upset about, I'm very remorseful for. I lost my best friend. I stole 2 rings from her, knowing what I was doing, and I took them to a drug dealer to pay off the debt. And when I tried to get them back, he wouldn't give them to me. And the next day I turned myself into the police, and I told them what happened and what I did.
When did you find the rings missing?
The morning that she left my apartment.
How'd you feel?
Extremely upset.
Did you try to contact her?
I contacted her mother and her sister and told them what happened, and they said call the police.
You got one of the rings back?
Yes.
The other one you did not?
Yes, correct.
What did he do, sell it or dispose of it in some way?
We don't know. He's saying he's innocent, and, we can't talk to him. I can't get the rings back, but I want to pay her back. I just that I don't have a lot.
How did you get the one ring back?
That's kind of on her part, and I'm not talking to her right now, so you need to ask.
The police have it as evidence.
But they're holding it, so that one you have. The only dispute in this case is to the value of the ring. How much did you pay for the ring?
$7,000. I have the receipts and all the appraisal and everything right here.
I'm not interested in the appraisal, just the receipt, how much you paid for it. You bought this ring at a very upscale store. And there were 2 pieces of fine jewelry that you bought. One was for $7,000, one is for $2,500. What were the 2 pieces that you bought?
The $7,000 was the ring, and the $2,500 was the earrings to go with it.
And you have the earrings?
Yes.
Just a lot of money to spend on a ring, but...
Did you notice it was a charge card? I like to live over my means. I like to have what I like.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It was either taking your jewelry or going out and mugging somebody or getting killed herself. Because, drug dealers are despicable pun scum.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Liza Greer admits to stealing 2 rings, but says they are worth thousands less than Laura Golder claims.
Miss Greer, I'm going to let you tell me in your own words what your defense is to this lawsuit.
Okay. Okay, I'm not saying that I don't owe her the money because I took the rings. I'm taking responsibility for it. I've done everything I can and my possible means of helping her get the ring back and going to court, turning myself in. I just feel that the designer for the ring is what I'd be paying for and not the value of the diamonds and the gold. I just feel it would be, it's just ridiculous to pay for a designer. It's not ridiculous, but it's just, $7,000 for a designer when the actual ring is only worth $3,000.
That's what I paid for the ring, though.
Shh. Let me tell you this. What you're suggesting is as follows. If somebody steals a Renoir, you know what that is?
Yes.
And says, well, I'm prepared to pay for the canvas and for the paint that was used. But I'm not prepared to pay $5 million for this painting. I mean, because after all this painting is a canvas and some paint. I don't have to pay for the designer Renoir, after all. She went to a store that is a high-end store. I'm not even going to mention the store.
Shall I?
No. But I want to tell you something. Anybody that buys a piece of jewelry in this high-end store, what I'm telling you is you're entitled to do with your money whatever you wanted to do with it. But I saw a picture of the ring. It's a nice little ring. So is all
Really
of it put
nice
together
ring.
worth $7,000? Who knows? But that's what she paid for it. And you stole it. And she doesn't have it back. And she's entitled to be made whole. Because whatever it is, she's out $7,000 and she doesn't have her ring because of you.
I know.
So, I mean, the limit of my jurisdiction is $5,000. She understood that when she came to this court, right?
Yes.
You've been in treatment?
Yes. I've been sober ever since.
How long?
It's 2.5 months now.
It's not a long time.
No, but it's still longer than I had 2.5 months ago.
I know.
And I'm also on Prozac, and I've been with a psychiatrist, and it was a very sobering experience. And I'm pregnant, so it's devastating to me what I've done. And I've lost my best friend.
Doesn't sound as if this was a great year for you. Next year will be better.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Miss Golder.
Yes.
She hasn't had a good time. She brought it about by herself. She knows that. I have a feeling that she understands that. You've been a friend for a long time. I'm going to give you your $5,000. I absolutely believe that you are entitled to that. I think Miss Greer believes that you're entitled to that, too. She feels terrible. I am quite sure that when you woke up in the morning and found your jewelry missing and realized who took your jewelry, you felt devastated.
That she would do something like that to me.
Right. She was really, at that point, I honestly believe, pushed to the wall, and she didn't know what to do. It was either taking your jewelry or going out and mugging somebody or getting killed herself. Because, you know, drug dealers can be, not can be, are despicable pun scum. And they can be deadly despicable pun scum. So she was afraid. That doesn't excuse her. But if she's sober, and I believe that she is because she's been very honest with me otherwise, she probably could use all the support she can get. Well, Miss Greer, you have a responsibility now that is far beyond a responsibility to yourself.
I know.
And if you ever think of relapsing, I suggest that you take yourself a visit to a
Rehab.
local hospital.
Right.
And go into the neonatal intensive care unit and see what a baby looks like when they're born with heroin or cocaine withdrawal.
Right.
I guarantee you that that will be a more sobering experience than the one you had here. Got it?
That.
All right. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff
Thank
in the
you.
amount of $5,000.
I'm sorry,
Thank
Laura.
Parties are excused. You can step out. I'll be back to you right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I could go to jail. You know, I mean, right now, you know, I could go to jail. You know, I just don't, I never thought I was that kind of a person. The one thing that I think that Judge Judy gave me back was my friend. You know, I mean, because you know, she wasn't even speaking to me before. You know, to me, the value of her friendship is worth more than the money itself. And I did something wrong.